Chapter 812. Within the Black Water Pavilion, Li Shui sat there shyly, while Sovereign Li Quan, who was beside her, had a face full of smiles. He had fought his entire life for what? It was all for today, to fulfill his wife's dying wish. Now he was about to bring his daughter and son-in-law to meet his deceased wife. How could he not be excited? Father, how powerful is that lady from the soul-devouring manor? Li Shui asked after falling silent for a while. Girls were about to get married, and were naturally quite interested in the situation of their husband's family. Lady Jiawu? Sage Li Quan's expression became serious as he replied, very powerful. As for how powerful, I'm not sure. Ah! Li Shui's jaw dropped. She knew how powerful her father was. Hearing that even her father was not sure, how could she not be shocked? She asked in surprise, could it be Grade 9? Doesn't seem like it. Grade 9 has undefeatable willpower and source energy. However, Lady Jiawu only has powerful willpower, and her willpower doesn't seem like the undefeatable willpower of a Grade 9. She's ridiculously powerful. Sage Li Quan's eyebrows furrowed even more as a look of confusion appeared in his eyes. Moreover, this Lady Jiawu's strength is very strange. A few hundred years ago, she was only above Grade 7. In just a few hundred years, her strength has increased to such a terrifying level. This is simply incomprehensible. All right, let's not talk about this anymore. Little Shui, when do you think you should get married to young Master Yi? Sage Li Quan waved his hand, his expression once again becoming excited. How about we wait for him to reach the God Emperor stage, and then I'll give you a grand wedding. Young Master Yi? Li Shui's heart tightened. Just then, she could tell that something was wrong, and it seemed that her father indeed liked Yi Qinghan. She immediately felt incredibly anxious and bitter, but didn't know what to say. She knew Sage Li Quan's temperament very well. Although he loved her dearly, he was incredibly stubborn. This could be seen from the fact that he had to choose the most peerless young master for his coming-of-age ceremony. Moreover, Li Shui did not want to go against Sage Li Quan on this matter. She knew that although Sage Li Quan seemed to have everything on the surface, his heart was incredibly bitter. Ever since her mother's death, he had been living in pain. Father, what do you think about that soul-devouring beast? What divine ability did he use just now? It's so powerful. Not wanting to confront him directly, Li Shui could only speak in a roundabout way. Soul-devouring beast? Are you talking about the Soul Emperor's son? Not bad. Venerable Li Quan said nonchalantly. His soul has reached the God King level, but his comprehension of laws is still at the peak of the heavenly God level. I think his soul must have been raised by Lady Jiawu using some heavenly resources. Although the soul-devouring beast soul is the most important, it can be seen from this point that this soul-devouring beast's innate talent is not as great as my Shui's. Of course, that husband-to-be of yours is even more exceptional. He's a soul cultivator who has cultivated for several decades. How many years has it been since someone like that appeared in the God realm? Oh no! Li Shui's heart was filled with apprehension. From Sage Li Quan's words, she could feel how much he valued Yi Qinghan, but toward Xiaohe, he thought he was someone who relied on his elders. Li Shui really wanted to tell Sage Li Quan that she had liked this weird soul-devouring beast for a long time, from the moment he bit her, but she had decided that she would marry no one else but him. If a girl's most important buttocks were bitten, how could she not think about it? Looking at the excited Sage Li Quan, Li Shui could only remain silent. However, her heart was becoming more and more anxious. Yi Qinghan and Xiaohe were about to arrive. How could she bring up this matter without angering Sage Li Quan? Her father had been looking forward to this day for a long time. Sage, young Master Yi, and young Master Xiaohe asked for an audience. At this moment, Li Bai's voice sounded out from outside. Sage Li Quan's spirit shook, and he hurriedly shouted, "Let them in." "All right, go and brew my 5 million-year-old dripping spring tea." Yi Qinghan was shocked outside the door. 5 million-year-old dripping spring tea. Thanks to Xiaohe, he was able to enjoy it today. Yi Qinghan pulled Xiaohe in. Xiaohe had turned into a young man's shadow. This was the transformation art that Li Shui had taught him. Today, Li Shui had turned into a human form while he was still in beast form. Xiao He was afraid that Li Shui would laugh at him. As expected, Xiao He turned into a mischievous young man, causing Li Shui to stare blankly, but she shyly lowered her head. She felt even more bitter in her heart. Greetings to Sage Li Quan, young lady Shui. Yi Qinghan cupped his hands at the two of them and discovered that Blackie was winking at Li Shui in a carefree manner. He was so angry that he almost sent a flying kick over. He hurriedly transmitted a message to Blackie. Oh, greetings to Sage Li Quan, young lady Shui. Xiao He grinned and hurriedly bowed. Sit, young master Xiao He. You should be called Black Devourer. Sage Li Quan laughed and didn't mind Xiao He's mischievousness. He saw a maid serving a few cups of tea and said with a smile, "Have some tea. This is good stuff. Ordinary people can't drink it." Yi Qinghan opened the lid of the teapot. A delicate fragrance rushed out, and he hurriedly savored it. At the side, Xiao He turned back to his original form. He raised the cup and drank the tea. Yi Qinghan almost spat out the tea. Damn Xiao He, pay attention to your image. God damn it, the one sitting here is your father-in-law. Yi Qinghan hurriedly transmitted a message. This brat didn't behave properly. If Sage Li Quan was displeased, his wife would fly away. Moreover, this was a 5 million-year-old dripping spring tea. Wasn't this like a cow chewing on a peony? Li Shui also glared at him. Although she liked Xiao He's bandit aura, he still needed to pay attention to the occasion. Sage Li Quan didn't mind at all. He sipped the tea for a while and said faintly, "Young Master Yi, later on, you won't have any objections to me going with my daughter to pay respects to her mother, right? I don't mind that you have a wife at home. Just give Shui the position of the main wife." Cough, cough. Yi Qinghan choked on the spot. What was this? From Sage Li Quan's words? He seemed to have chosen him as his son-in-law. He hurriedly looked at Li Shui. Big brother Yi, this is a small misunderstanding. You should agree first. We are just paying respects to my mother. Later, I will explain to you. Li Shui was embarrassed by the stare and hurriedly explained. She looked at Xiao He and was also confused. She was afraid that he would misunderstand and was a little angry. She hurriedly glared at him and transmitted a message. What are you looking at? It's all your fault, stupid soul-devouring beast. You are still embarrassing me. Just wait and see how I will deal with you. Chapter 813. Xiao He didn't dare to mess around after being glared at by Li Shui. He transformed again and turned into the phantom of an elegant young man, sitting down obediently. Yi Qinghan's face was filled with cold sweat. What was Li Shui playing at? However, since Li Shui had spoken, he could only bite the bullet and cupped his hands towards Supremacy Li Quan. Paying respects to Annie is what I should do. Good. Supremacy Li Quan nodded his head in satisfaction. With a wave of his hand, the scene changed. 3 humans and 1 beast appeared on a green mountain. The surrounding grass was lush and the scenery was pleasant. However, there was a translucent barrier in the air. Obviously, ordinary humans and demonic beasts wouldn't be able to enter. Taking a glance, halfway up the mountain, Yi Qinghan understood that this was the grave of Li Shui's mother. Supremacy Li Quan looked up at the magnificent tomb halfway up the mountain. His eyes were sparkling with tears. He didn't say anything and walked towards the halfway up the mountain. Li Shui followed closely behind. Her eyes were also misty. Yi Qinghan rubbed his nose and glared at Xiao He, who was looking around before following obediently. Xiang today our little Shui finally grew up. I helped her find the most exceptional young master of the continent to be her husband. Now, they are here to pay respects to you. At this moment, Supremacy Li Quan had turned from an overlord of the Fengyan continent into an ordinary middle-aged man. Even his straight back had become stooped, and his face was filled with loneliness. A person stared blankly at the raised grave with tears streaming down his face. Li Shui had already knelt in front of the grave and cried her heart out. Yi Qinghan sighed helplessly and knelt beside Li Shui. He paid his respects 3 times, but when he saw Xiao He standing there in a daze, he hurriedly dragged him and Li Shui to pay their respects 3 times. However, he didn't feel good in his heart. Mother asterisk Kerr, are you marrying a wife, or am I marrying a wife? After paying his respects, Venerable Li Quan returned to the Blackwater Pavilion. Venerable Li Quan gave up the space and only hinted to Yi Qinghan to bring his family's elders over as soon as possible to discuss the wedding date. Then, he teleported away. Lord Devour left right after the auction ended. Moreover, for such a matter, the groom should be the one to propose marriage. After all, the Li family was a prestigious family. Miss Shui, or what is going on? As soon as Venerable Li Quan left, Yi Qinghan quickly glanced at Xiao He and asked urgently, isn't it because your stupid soul-devouring beast is disappointing? Li Shui glared at Xiao He, then said shyly, I didn't make it clear at that time, and my father misunderstood. Today means a lot to my father, and I don't want to make him sad. I'll tell him slowly in the future. Boss, what are you talking about? Why don't I understand? Little Shuayer, don't stare at me. What does it have to do with me? Xiao He, who was listening at the side, was confused and asked suspiciously, you silly boy, my head is turned white because of your marriage. Yi Qinghan sighed helplessly. It seemed that this marriage would be difficult. Marriage? What marriage? Xiao He blinked his eyes. Looking at Li Shuayer's murderous eyes, he quickly came to his senses and said embarrassedly, don't rush this matter. I haven't thought it through. Moreover, I, Lord Xiao He, am not a casual person. T. As soon as Yi Qinghan heard this, he knew that something bad was going to happen. Sure enough, Li Shuayer bared her fangs and brandished her claws like a little tiger, rushing over. Xiao He's eyes suddenly widened. He transformed back to his original form and shot out of the pavilion. Yi Qinghan faintly heard Li Shuayer's angry roar. It was mixed with something like, you bit this lady's butt and you still want to be irresponsible. With a bitter smile, Yi Qinghan didn't want to be entangled here. He walked out of the Blackwater Pavilion alone. Anyway, in this dripping water pavilion, no one dared to hurt Xiao He. Let them be. Before he walked out of the dripping water pavilion, Li Bai hurried over and said that he wanted to send Yi Qinghan back. After all, Yi Qinghan was alone now, and he was afraid that something might happen. Yi Qinghan smiled and didn't refuse. He only asked Li Bai to instruct someone to send Xiao He back when he returned. Once he returned to the joyful red courtyard, Yi Qinghan's heart was burning with passion. The matter in Dripping Spring City was finally over. The Godstone was also in his hands. He could finally go to Soul Eater City. Thinking that he would soon be able to see the 3 women and the sun that he had never met, Yi Qinghan's entire body trembled. Feng Qi and Wu Shan had also returned from shopping. Yi Qinghan hurriedly gathered everyone and informed them that he was going to Soul Eater City immediately. After Thunder Monarch understood Yi Qinghan's meaning, he nodded and said, our preparations are almost done. Let's do it this way. We'll start tomorrow morning. Feng Qi and Rain Queen Yao Rao follow Little Knight to Soul Eater City. Wu Shan and I will return to Phoenix Cloud Mountain Range directly. Little Knight, remember to go to Floating City and apply to build a city as soon as possible. Perhaps by the time you return, the new city will have already been built. Yi Qinghan's eyes lit up. A new city. This was a city that belonged to him. Yi Yao Rao, who was at the side, was a little bashful. She glanced at Yi Qinghan and said in a low voice, I'll follow you back to Phoenix Cloud Mountain Range. It's so far, the teleportation fee is too expensive. I'll also return to Phoenix Cloud Mountain Range. I need to design the new city properly. Soul Eater City is the city of Little Knight's family elders. No one can harm him. Yi Qinghan was stunned. Yi Yao Rao's excuse was too lousy. He and Thunder Monarch Yu Rao both had spatial rings, so they didn't need to pay for the teleportation fee. However, he immediately understood and felt touched. Yi Yao Rao and Rain Queen clearly didn't want him to bring them to meet his wives in his hometown. They didn't want him to feel awkward. This was also good. He hadn't seen them for so long. If he brought 2 women with him when he met them, they would have some ideas. After discussing some specific matters with everyone, Yi Qinghan's mood became more and more fiery. Suddenly, a bright light shone from the stone door. Wu Shan opened the door and saw Xiao He rushing in with his face covered in dirt. He was even shouting anxiously, "Boss, hurry up and leave! Hurry up and leave! Li Shui, that fierce woman will kill me. This woman is too fierce. I don't want her. I don't want her." Everyone was happy. Rain Queen and Lei Yanhua came back and told them about the coming-of-age ceremony. Seeing Xiao He like this, of course it was funny. Almost 1,000 young masters in the continent wanted to marry Li Shui, but this Xiao He actually didn't care about it. All right. Yi Qing'an thought about it. It seemed like he had to report this to Lord Devour and let her make the decision. Therefore, he told everyone and decided to go directly to Soul Eater City. Under the resentful eyes of Yi Yao Rao and Little Firework, Yi Qing'an brought Xiao He and Feng Qi and went directly to the square. Looking at the huge teleportation portal shining with 7-colored light, Yi Qing'an felt a lot of emotions. Without hesitation, he put Xiao He into the beast space. Of course, Feng Qi had already entered the carefree pavilion. Yi Qing'an paid the teleportation fee and stepped into the teleportation portal to Soul Eater City. The moment the teleportation portal lit up, countless pairs of eyes in the square lit up. Then they quietly ran in all directions. They brought the news of Yi Qing'an's departure to their respective masters. A white slim figure flew over from the city master's mansion. Looking at the shining teleportation portal, she said softly with hatred, "Want to run? I'll see where you can run to." Chapter 814. The soul-devouring city was still misty, like a fairyland. Outside the North City was the boundless wandering sea. Waves of turbulent waves surged towards the soul-devouring city tirelessly, slapping against the cornerstone of the city, bringing with it a burst of beautiful sounds, adding a trace of immortality to the entire soul-devouring city. The soul-devouring city had 99 main streets and 999 side streets. The layout of the various buildings was perfect. It was divided into 4 districts. The North City District was where the City Lord's mansion and the guards lived. The South City District was a place for trade and leisure, and the East and West City District were where the citizens of the city lived. The center was a super large square. In the South City District, there was a very famous tea house in the soul-devouring city. There was a tea house. The tea house was near the square in the South City District. From the tea house, one could see the noisy square and even the beautiful wandering sea in the distance. The terrain was very good, the tea was also very good, and the decoration and environment inside were even more first class. With this tea house, it naturally became the best tea house in the soul-devouring city. It was widely liked by the customers in the city who liked to taste tea. The tea house had 5 floors. The top floor had the best scenery, and of course, the price was the most expensive. At this moment, the entire 5th floor was booked. Of course, it was not elegant to book such an elegant place. The customers who came here to drink tea were also people of status. However, when the waitress in the tea house explained the customer who booked the place, no one dared to get angry. The person who booked the place was the 3rd city lord of the soul-devouring city, Emperor Yi. Emperor Yi's strength was not high. Not long ago, he was just Prince Yi. Now, he only had the strength of a 5th-grade war god. However, he was the younger brother of the 2nd city lord and the city lord's godbrother. Who dared to be rude to him? However, at this moment, someone was being rude to Emperor Yi. 3rd city lord, if you continue to pester me, when the lord returns, I will definitely tell the lord. Nine-tailed fox helplessly looked at the smiling Emperor Yi in front of her, glanced at the private room in front of her, and said in a low voice, "Little Nine, don't be so heartless. Give me a chance, just one. You also know that since I met you, I have never been in contact with any woman. Big sister can testify." Emperor Yi was still as handsome as before. At this moment, when he spoke, his eyes were full of affection and sparkling sparks. Ordinary women would definitely be charmed to death. "Scram, I heard that half a year ago, you were very unrestrained in the Misty Rain Pavilion. Lord Jiu would not have gotten angry if he hadn't mentioned this." Now that he mentioned it, he was furious, glaring at Lord Jiu with his phoenix eyes as he scolded softly. As the 3rd city lord, Emperor Yi did not have the slightest temper in front of Lord Jiao. He hurriedly waved his hand and said righteously, "Rumors. It is definitely a rumor. Little Jiao, you have to believe me. My feelings for you can be compared to the wandering sea." All right, that's enough. Today, Miss Qingqing has finally come out from her secluded cultivation and is here to relax. I beg of you, don't make a fuss. Is that all right? Lord Jiao signaled with his eyes and pointed to the private room as he pleaded. Young Lady Qingqing sighed. Emperor, he had a gleam of pity in his eyes. The three women in the private room had their own styles. Unfortunately, he couldn't touch them. Otherwise, Lord Devour would strip him naked and hang him at the city gate. Sister Qingqing, you've finally broken through to the third level of the divine general realm after 20 years of seclusion. Your talent can be considered top-notch in the immortal world. There was a defensive barrier in the private room. The three women sat quietly inside and naturally couldn't hear the conversation between Lord Jiao and Emperor Yi Qinggu, who was still wearing a fiery red robe and had a voluptuous figure, looked at the tranquil Yu Qingqing with a face full of joy. Top-notch? Yu Qingqing smiled faintly and took a sip of tea. The tea was very sweet, but her face slowly turned bitter. She sighed faintly and said, "It's been 50 years. 100 years have passed in the Flame Dragon continent, and I've only reached the third level of the divine general realm. When will I be able to reach the celestial arch realm?" Pa. Yi Qingyu, who had been sitting by the window, looked like a pure white lotus. 2 streams of tears silently flowed down her cheeks and landed on the white jade table. She looked at Yu Qingqing beside her and said with a choked voice, "Sister Qingqing, I miss my brother, Sai." Yi Qingwu's good mood instantly became sad after hearing the two of them. He thought of Yi Sahan in the Flame Dragon continent. He thought of how Yi Sahan had wanted to cry when he had walked towards the teleportation formation. Yi Sahan had been suppressing her tears. He felt waves of heartache. The three of them stopped talking and looked at the endless flow of people in the plaza. Although the rain barrier isolated the sound, they could still clearly sense the noise in the city. However, at this moment, the three of them felt so lonely, as though they had been abandoned by the world. Buzz! A beam of light soared into the sky, attracting the attention of hundreds of thousands of martial artists in the plaza, tens of thousands of guards beside the teleportation array, and Lord Jiao and Emperor Yi, who had just entered the private room. Of course, it also attracted the attention of Yu Qingqing and the others who were drowning in sorrow. The teleportation array was the largest kind. This was the teleportation array between the prefecture's main cities. Moreover, the light had been shining for such a long time. Someone from a faraway prefecture must have teleported over. The teleportation fee between the prefecture's main cities was very expensive. Those who could use such a teleportation array were all big shots. Those who could teleport from such a faraway prefecture were even more important. Therefore, the martial artists and guards in the square all tidied up their clothes and straightened their spines. They were ready to welcome and see what kind of earth-shattering big shot it was. This person is so rich. He actually teleported from a prefecture in the south. I'm afraid this teleportation cost tens of billions of divine stones. Emperor Yi's eyesight was very sharp. When he saw the light, he easily determined that the person who teleported came from a prefecture in the south. Yu Qingqing and the others were stunned. Tens of billions of divine stones. The three of them were not country bumpkins who just came to the divine world. Of course, they understood what this meant. The light gradually began to stop shining. A green figure slowly appeared in the huge teleportation array. It was a young man with a delicate face. He looked abnormally excited as he looked at soul-devouring city. After the teleportation array stopped shaking, the young man actually began to cry silently. Then he shouted to the hundreds of thousands of martial artists in the plaza, "Soul-devouring city, this young master is finally here." Pa! 3 cups fell on the white jade square table at the same time and broke into pieces. The tea inside was like a dragon's tongue, scattered all over the table. The intoxicating fragrance of the tea filled the entire pavilion. "He is finally here. Nine-tailed Fox's body trembled. She smiled slightly. Her smile made Emperor Yi tremble. Who is he? Emperor Yi looked at the young man in the teleportation array and looked at Yu Qingcheng and the others who were crying and trembling. He was very surprised. Bang! The protective shield on the top floor of a tea house suddenly burst. 3 figures flew directly to the plaza. Yi Qingwu directly smashed the protective shield with a punch. The 3 of them did not dare to blink, fearing that the familiar figure in the teleportation array would disappear in the next second. The figure that haunted their countless dreams would disappear. Yi Qinghan's heart trembled inexplicably. He abruptly swept his gaze towards the south, and when he saw 3 figures rapidly flying in his direction, his body and his soul began to tremble at this moment. 4 pairs of eyes, after decades, intertwined once again. Like the wandering sea water, they could no longer be separated. Chapter 815. Wah! Yi Qinghan's roar stunned more than 100,000 people in the field. Although this green-robed young god king could use such a precious transmission array, what kind of place was soul-devouring city? Was it a place where a god king could roar so casually? A group of guards was about to scold a few words, but they heard a loud noise in the south. The protective shield of one of the top tea houses in the city was suddenly broken. After 3 beautiful figures flew out, Lord Jiao and the 3rd city lord also flew out. They all knew these 3 women. They were the distinguished guests who lived on the 5th floor of the city lord's mansion. Needless to say, Lord Jiao and the 3rd city lord. The 5 of them were obviously rushing towards the green-robed god king. Who dared to move? Brother, Qing'an, little Han. 3 cries with sobs resounded above the square. Yi Qinghan couldn't bear it anymore. He soared into the sky, tears in his eyes. He took a step and instantly appeared in front of the 3. The 4 figures hugged each other tightly. They had been separated for too long, more than 50 years. In the Flame Dragon dimension, it was more than 100 years. For ordinary people, it was a lifetime. Most importantly, the 3 of them faintly felt that something might have happened to Yi Qinghan. This time, Lord Devour did not disclose in advance that he was out of sealed God Valley. Now it suddenly appeared. This surprise was too big, so big that their hearts almost broke at this moment. Brother, brother, brother. Yi Qingyu called out softly, as if she wanted to shout out all the repressed feelings of the past few decades. However, Yi Qingwu stretched out her fist and heavily pounded on Yi Qinghan's back, venting the pain and longing that had been suppressed for several decades. Yu Qingcheng did not speak. She just stared at Yi Qinghan, as if to engrave his shadow in her heart forever. Qingyu, Qingwu, Qingcheng, I'm back. I won't leave you. I swear to the heavens, to the divine emperor, to my dead father. Even if it's the netherworld, I'll take you with me. I won't ask for your forgiveness this time. I will use the infinite time in the future to treat you well. Yi Qinghan burst into tears. Although he knew that a man had to bleed, he couldn't help but cry. Although he knew that with so many people watching, it was very embarrassing for a man to cry. But he still cried, a complete mess. It was true that he had a strong heart. But in front of his family and the woman he loved the most, he found that his heart was in a mess. Brother, brother, don't say any more. We forgive you. Yi Qingyu cried even harder. She shook her head, and her voice became hoarse. Yi Qingwu waved her fists even harder. Little Han, if you dare to abandon us again and run away by yourself, we'll die in front of you. Yu Qingcheng smiled. Her tear-stained smile made people feel a burst of heartache. She wiped her tears and softly murmured, "It's good that you're back. It's good that you're back. It's good that you're back." Little Han, Cold Emperor. 2 loud roars came from afar. Yi Qinghan was shocked again. This voice was very familiar. It was Yi Qingyo and Saber Emperor's voice. Yi Qinghan looked and saw 2 figures wearing the same red battle armor as the Soul Devourer Mansion's official army rushing over. The one in front with bulging eyes was none other than Yi Qingyo. Grandpa Green Ox, Saber Emperor. The 3 women hurriedly separated and shyly wiped their tears. Yi Qingyo directly flew over and gave Yi Qinghan a bear hug. After looking carefully and seeing that Yi Qinghan was fine, he laughed loudly. "Little Han, where is Lord Xiaohe?" At this time, the 9 lords who flew over asked. Emperor Yi, who was beside them, was also sparkling. Lord Xiaohe was the young city lord of Soul Devourer City. Yes. No. Soul Devourer City originally belonged to him. Lord Devourer said that she was only taking care of the Soul Devourer mansion and would return it to Xiaohe when he grew up. "You are?" Yi Qinghan looked at Madame Jiao and felt that she looked familiar. Listening to her words, he also felt that she knew him, but he couldn't remember. "Brother, he is Madame Jiao. He has transformed into a human." Yi Qingyu's reminder made Yi Qinghan suddenly understand. He hurriedly summoned Xiaohe and bowed to Madame Jiao. Madame Jiao had saved his life. 3 beauties, long time no see. When Xiaohe came out, he directly jumped onto Yi Qingyu's shoulder. Among Yi Qinghan's wives, he had the best relationship with Yi Qingyu. No matter what, he had watched him grow up. "Greetings, Lord Xiaohe." Madame Jiao bowed. Then, her expression suddenly became serious. A black token appeared in her hand out of thin air. She shouted at the more than 100,000 martial artists in the square below. "Everyone listen up. Greetings, young Master Yi and young Master Xiaohe." The Soul Devourer order appeared. No one dared to slack off. "Greetings, young Master Yi. Greetings, young Master Xiaohe." More than a dozen people shouted at the same time, startling Xiaohe. Yi Qinghan's expression didn't change much. After all, he had more than 100,000 subordinates in the Phoenix Glow mountain range. He had seen many of them. "Let's go to the governor's mansion first. It's not good to talk here." Madame Jiao smiled and led everyone to the governor's mansion. A group of people flew towards the governor's mansion in a grandiose manner, leaving behind countless pairs of eyes with complicated expressions. Who was this person? He actually made Madame Jiao use the Soul Devourer order to welcome him. Moreover, a small beast actually dared to call him Young Master. Young Master was not a title that could be used casually. To make all the martial artists in the city call him Young Master, it meant that these 2 people were the Young Masters of Soul Devourer City. At this moment, the entire soul-devouring city was in an uproar. There were now 2 more young masters in the city. This caused all the big and small families in the city to become nervous. If the identity of these 2 young masters was confirmed, then it would be a shocking piece of news. On the 5th floor of the governor's mansion, Madame Jiao directly used the Soul Devourer order to block the entire 3rd floor and above, rejecting all guests. At the same time, the entire governor's mansion became busy in order to welcome the arrival of the 2 young masters. "Lord Devourer is not here?" Yi Qinghan led the 3 of them to sit side by side. Xiaohe jumped on the table, picked up a spirit fruit, and started munching on it. Yi Qinghan thought that when he and Xiaohe arrived, Lord Devourer would definitely summon them immediately. However, he didn't see them now, so he asked in surprise, "Didn't Lord Devourer go to Dripping Spring City? Why didn't you see her? She even sent a message back saying that you would come over during this period. I didn't expect that you would come so soon," Madame Jiao said in surprise. Then, she looked at Yu Qingcheng and the other 2 apologetically and said, "Lord Devourer already knew that Little Han had come out. However, he was afraid that you would worry, so he specifically told me not to tell you." "Come out? Where did you come out from? Qing'an, tell me what happened to you all these years." Yu Qingcheng was a meticulous person, so she quickly asked. Everyone looked at them curiously. Even Madame Jiao was curious about how Yi Qing'an had been in the Sealed God Valley. How did he come out? Xiaohe, who had just woken up, blinked his eyes curiously and listened attentively. Yi Qing'an glanced at them and saw that they were all on his side. Even the 3rd city lord, Emperor Yi, was invited out by Madame Jiao using the Soul Devouring order. He exchanged a look with Madame Jiao and knew that it was safe here. Then he slowly told them everything that had happened in these years in detail. Of course, he only briefly talked about the War Imperial Palace. He didn't dare to reveal the black stone, the fact that his soul had split into 2, and whether there was a lump of white cotton in his soul. However, what Yi Qinghan revealed shocked everyone present, especially Saber Emperor and Yi Qingyo, They were so shocked that they couldn't close their mouths for a long time. The two of them had nothing to do in the city, so they joined the official army and became a squad leader. Therefore, they were very familiar with the affairs of the immortal realm. Yi Qingyo's eyes widened to a frightening degree. After a long time, he finally exhaled and asked in disbelief, "Little Han, you said you're a soul cultivator now? You have 2 7th-grade war gods and 100 soul slaves with the strength of 5th-grade war gods and above, and hundreds of thousands of experts as subordinates? You're also preparing to build a new city. You'll find out when you follow me there in the future. Let's not talk about this for now." Yi Qinghan waved his hand and said nonchalantly. Then, he suddenly looked at Yi Qingwu and asked a question that he had been wanting to ask since he arrived at the soul-devouring city, but didn't dare to ask. "Qingwu, where's our son? I want to see him." Chapter 8:16. Son, Sahan? You finally remembered to ask about Sahan? Yi Qingwu glanced at Yi Qinghan with hidden bitterness, as if she was blaming Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan had been here for so long, but she only remembered to ask about Yi Sahan now. However, the moment she said this, she abruptly came to her senses, and her expression became extremely terrified. At the same time, Yi Qingyu and Yu Qingqing's expressions changed. "Lil Han, you returned to the Flame Dragon Continent? You didn't see our son?" Yi Qingwu suddenly grabbed Yi Qinghan's arm, her eyes wide open, and her body began to tremble in fear. Yi Qingyu also grabbed Yi Qinghan tightly. Yu Qingqing's eyes were filled with panic and fear. Didn't he come to the God Realm? He broke through to the God Realm at the age of 20 and charged into the transportation formation alone. Grandpa Sky Dragon and Senior Shishui immediately chased after him, and the 3 of them were transported to the God Realm. What? Didn't Milord bring him to Soul Eater City? Yi Qinghan was also frightened. The calm temperament that she had developed over the years could no longer remain calm at this moment. She stood up with a thump, and her face turned snow-white. "Sahan, Sahan!" Yi Qingwu also stood up, but her body went limp, and she fell back down. Yu Qingqing and Yi Qingyu hurriedly helped her up. How can this be? Didn't we tell the Patriarch not to come to the God Realm without news of us? I'll do it." Yi Qingyo's body erupted with a berserk aura. Saber Emperor also looked worried. "God damn it, what's going on?" Yi Qinghan directly cursed and anxiously paced back and forth in the hall. He was completely panicked. He knew how dangerous the God Realm was. Yi Sahan was a hothead who had just broken through to the God Realm. Although Yi Tianlong had heard that he had already refined a Divine General's Divine Crystal, there was no difference between a peak Divine General and a first-layer Divine General. Yi Sahan had come to the God Realm at the age of 20, but it had been several decades since then. Yi Qinghan did not dare to think about it anymore. If anything happened to any one of them, Yi Qinghan would never forgive himself. Yi Qinghan felt like he was about to explode with rage, but he had nowhere to vent it. At this time, Xiaohei also understood what was going on. He quickly waved his little paw and said to Yi Qinghan, "Boss, don't worry. Nothing will happen. Where's my aunt? Lord Jiu, I want to see my aunt. Maybe things aren't as bad as you think." At this moment, Lord Jiu spoke indifferently. Everyone's spirits were lifted, and their gazes locked onto Lord Jiu. At the same time, everyone's gazes were filled with doubt. Since Lord Devour could welcome Yu Qingqing and the others to Soul Devouring City, why didn't he bring Yi Sahan and the others over as well? When Yi Qinghan was in the Fire Dragon Continent, he went to ask the Jade Rabbit Yu Qingqing and the others for confirmation. That was why he did not ask for Yi Sahan's information. Madame Jiu understood what they meant. She sighed slightly and said, "Little Han, you went to the Fire Dragon Continent. I'm sure you know that little Sahan suddenly barged into the teleportation formation. The Heaven Dragon race leader and Shishui race leader immediately followed. The 3 quickly barged into the teleportation formation and came to the God Realm. When Lord received the news, it had already been a few days. Lord asked me to immediately go to the Ascension platform to welcome them, but of course there was no one there. Then I immediately started to investigate. During that time, the people who ascended were teleported to thousands of tribes. In the end, I searched all the tribes, but I still could not find young Master Sahan and the others. And then, Yi Qinghan's eyes shone brightly as he stared at Lord Jiao. He knew in his heart that he could not blame Lord Devour. This matter was indeed because Yi Sahan had acted too quickly and did not inform Lord Devour through the Jade Rabbit. In his heart, however, he became even more anxious. Lord Jiao continued, "At that time, dozens of groups of people were teleported to the west of the continent near the Star Sea, the Heavenly Demon Prefecture, the Hunter Battle Prefecture, and the Xiaoshan Prefecture. However, during that time, a group of extremely powerful god bandits in the Star Sea had plundered many tribes and small cities in the 3 prefectures. Then they charged into the Star Sea again. After I brought the news back, Lord Devour personally went there. However, there was still no definite news of the 3. However, you can rest assured, Lord Devour said that he could confirm that young Master Sahan is safe. Since young Master Sahan is fine, then the Heavenly Dragon Tribe leader and Shishui Tribe leader should be fine too. Why is Lord Devour so sure that they are fine?" Everyone was slightly relieved. Since Lord Devour said that they were fine, then at least their safety was guaranteed. After pondering for a moment, Yi Qinghan asked doubtfully, "Haha, Miss Wu should be clear about this." Lord Jiao smiled slightly and looked at Yi Qingwu. On the day that young Master Sahan was 1 month old, did he receive a black jade stone from Lord Devour? Actually, this jade stone played a part in young Master Sahan's cultivation speed. As long as this jade stone did not break, young Master Sahan will not die. Don't worry. Yes, there was such a piece of jade. When Sahan used her blood to bind him, it suddenly disappeared into his chest. I was shocked. Yi Qingyu nodded and said, "Yes, there is such a jade. It's good that nothing happened. It's good that nothing happened." Yi Qinghan heaved a sigh of relief. However, after a while, he frowned again. He slapped his head and said, "Lord Jiao, please bring me to the War God Pavilion immediately. I want to issue a bounty mission. I want to pay 1 trillion divine stones for information about the 3 of them. There are so many war gods in the divine world. We can definitely find them." "Yes, bounty. We must find little Sahan." Lord Jiao mobilized the entire soul-devouring manor to find them. Little Sahan is Lord Xiao Hei's nephew. Xiao Hei nodded continuously. Although Yi Qinghan suddenly had a son, which made Xiao Hei a little uncomfortable, he was still very anxious. He could clearly feel the urgency and pain in Yi Qinghan's heart. "No need." Lord Jiao waved his hand and said, "Lord Devour has issued a bounty dozens of years ago, and it's the highest bounty. Moreover, I think that Lord Devour left in such a hurry this time because he has news about young Master Sahan. Otherwise, he wouldn't have not seen you in Leaping Spring City. Perhaps he feels guilty if he doesn't help you find your son." At this moment, Yi Qinghan was sure that the lord in the first private room of the auction was Lord Devour. Listening to Lord Jiao, he finally understood. He raised his eyebrows and asked, "Can you send a message to Lord Devour now?" "I can't." Lord Jiao shook her head and said, "It's because I can't. That's why I guess that he has news about young Master Sahan. Because the jade talisman that Lord gave me can only be used in the Misty Continent. Now that I can't send a message, it means that Lord Devour has gone to another continent, or to the Star Sea. Previously, when Lord Devour went to other continents, he would tell me and the Second City Lord. This time, he didn't say anything. I guess he has gone to the Star Sea. Don't worry. Wait for Lord Devour to come back. Perhaps this time, Lord Devour can bring them back." Lord Jiao's words were reasonable and didn't seem to be fake. Then, she took them to the War God Pavilion on the 3rd floor to see the bounty. Indeed, Lord Devour had issued the highest bounty dozens of years ago. They knew that Lord Jiao didn't lie to them. "This is my son?" Yi Qinghan looked at the picture that Lord Devour had made on the bounty. Looking at the face that was exactly the same as when he was 15 years old, an indescribable feeling welled up in his heart. Returning to the 5th floor, Yi Qinghan immediately made a decision. Tomorrow, he would take them to the Misty Continent to apply for the construction of the city. After the new city was built, If Lord Devour couldn't find Yi Sahan and the others, he would take them to find Yi Sahan and the others even if he had to cross the Star Sea. Chapter 8:17. Night fell, and the dazzling sun in the sky was replaced by the demonic moon. The stars twinkled in the sky, and the night was enchanting. On the rooftop of the City Lord Mansion, Yi Qinghan, Yu Qingcheng, and the other two sat in a small pavilion in the corner. The four of them gazed at the starry sky and the boundless wandering sea. Everyone tactfully left. Even Xiao He followed Lord Jiao, leaving space and time for the couple who had been separated for decades. Huge waves on the distant wandering sea surged towards Seoul, devouring city tirelessly. The position of this pavilion was very good. It was a place that the Seoul Emperor had specially built in the past to look at the sea. Looking from here, one could clearly see the waves, which were like silver lines. As the tide came closer and closer, it was like a jade city in a snow-capped mountain range, surging towards the sky, surging and gushing, engulfing the universe and washing away the sun. The momentum was extremely majestic. Although he could only hear the voice, he could feel that it was like a thunderclap that could shatter the heavens. The scenery was beautiful, but the atmosphere in the pavilion was inexplicably sad and bitter. The four of them were sad for the passing of time, sad for Yi Sahan and the others who had wandered off to who knew where, sad for fate that toyed with them. She was sad for Yi Qinghan's life, for this lonely wandering sea. Yi Qinghan looked back at his past, and his heart ached. On the day of the wedding, the Golden Horn God clan had arrived. He didn't have time to accompany his newly married wives and had been cultivating in seclusion. After the matter of the Golden Horn God clan was settled, he could only run away with his 3 wives. Although they had spent an unforgettable time together in the Purple Island, it was very short. It was not easy to kill the Divine Master too, and the world was at peace. However, he was forced to come to the God Realm. In the blink of an eye, dozens of years had passed, but he had only returned to the Flame Dragon continent twice, and the time he had spent with his 3 wives added together was less than a year, looking at the 3 pretty faces in front of him. Yi Qinghan felt how lucky he was, but how unlucky they were. If they had married an ordinary young master, perhaps they wouldn't have to endure such a long separation, and they wouldn't have to endure such a painful lovesickness. The guilt in their hearts grew stronger. Qinghan, don't think too much. It's all in the past. It's over. Yu Qingcheng was very sensible and gave Yi Qinghan's left and right shoulders to Yi Qingwu and Yi Qingyu. At this moment, when she saw the pain that flashed through Yi Qinghan's eyes, she stretched out a hand gently, grabbed his hand, and said softly, "And brother, we really don't blame you." Yi Qingyu raised her head and said softly. Yi Qingwu also sighed faintly. Looking at the sea of stars in the distance, she said faintly, "If you want to blame someone, blame the evil heavens that play tricks on people." The 3 of them had been living as widows for so many years. It would be a lie if they didn't have any complaints. However, all 3 of them knew that they had suffered, and Yi Qinghan had suffered even more. He had abandoned his family and wife, and had come to this vast and boundless God world alone. He had carried the hopes of billions of flame dragon citizens on his back, and had roamed the God world where danger lurked in every corner. He had almost died several times. He had to swallow the bitterness, but he didn't have a place to shed his tears. Yi Qinghan didn't say anything. He just pulled Yu Qingcheng to him, hugging the 3 of them tightly. As he could have 3 wives who were so considerate, he thought that even if he had to suffer 10,000 times more, it would be worth it. Perhaps God was jealous of him for having the most perfect wives in this world. Thus, his fate had become more rough. However, he didn't know that it wasn't God that teased him. Lord Devour had arranged it discreetly. "Yeah, it's over. It's over. After we're done, we will find our son. After we find our son, our family will be reunited. We won't be separated anymore." Yi Qinghan murmured in his heart. With the War Imperial Palace, he would have the strength to protect the 3 of them. He decided that he would bring the 3 of them wherever he went in the future. He didn't want to endure this pain of yearning anymore. The night gradually deepened. and the wandering sea was no longer as noisy as it was during the day. The stars in the sky were still bright. The four of them did not speak, nor did they do anything. They just leaned against each other and looked at the enchanting night sky and the sea of stars together until dawn. Phoenix Dance Mountain Range was extremely quiet recently. The demon Thearka's tens of thousands of demonic beasts were hidden outside the Phoenix Glow Mountain Range. They turned into tens of thousands of pairs of eyes, watching the entire Phoenix Glow Mountain Range closely. Recently, many people had come to the Phoenix Glow Mountain Range. Some people had also discovered these demonic beasts. However, these demonic beasts fled the moment they were discovered. They didn't pay much attention to them. However, once they ventured a few thousand meters into the mountain range, they would be surrounded by the Yi family army that came from all directions. They would either be killed or captured alive. The Phoenix Glow Mountain Range was like a bottomless pit. Once they entered, no one would be able to come out. Recently, a few small groups of god bandits near the mountain range felt that something was amiss. They all knew that something was definitely wrong with the Phoenix Glow Mountain Range. However, they didn't dare to investigate. This was because none of the scouts that they sent in had returned. Rumble! Suddenly, a series of earth-shaking sounds traveled from the center of the Phoenix Glow Mountain Range. A few groups of god bandits nearby hurriedly came out of their respective caves and started to look towards the Phoenix Glow Mountain Range cautiously. What they saw scared them half to death. At the same time, they were extremely surprised. At this moment, countless god-tier formidable martial artists were flying in the skies above the Phoenix Glow Mountain Range. There were more than 100,000 of them. Many formidable martial artists were emanating terrifying auras, causing them to tremble all over. What these countless martial artists were doing was even more shocking. There were countless peaks in the Phoenix Glow Mountain Range. At this moment, a man with lightning flashing around his body and a terrifying aura was wielding a huge battle saber. He was directly chopping off the peaks one by one. A violent saber aura shot up to the 9 heavens. Amidst the loud sounds, countless peaks started to collapse, revealing the flat soil and rocks underneath. Following that, groups of martial artists flew over and lifted up the mountain peaks that had been chopped off. Finally, with a series of earth-shaking sounds, they threw the mountain peaks into the valley in the mountain range. Within a few hours, the entire Phoenix Glow Mountain Range, which used to be filled with mountains and ravines, was now a piece of flat land. Following that, countless martial artists started to fly into the distance of the Phoenix Glow Mountain Range. They covered the sky and the earth, and their aura was terrifying. These martial artists once again chopped down the mountain peaks that were tens of thousands of miles away and carried countless huge rocks over, throwing them into the Phoenix Cloud Mountain Range once again. Below, there were even more martial artists busily filling up the uneven areas with the rocks that had been thrown down. Supreme God Emperors, what are they doing? Heavens, aren't there only tens of thousands of god bandits in the Phoenix Glow Mountain Range? When did so many of them appear? There should be more than 100,000 of them, right? These people are crazy. Could they be preparing to build a city here? Not good. Run. The few groups of god bandits who were watching from the outside were all dumbfounded. They were not surprised that a saber could chop off a mountain peak. They were not surprised that a 500,000-kilogram rock could be lifted. However, they were not surprised that the entire Phoenix Glow Mountain Range had been flattened in just half a day. What they were curious about was what this group of crazy martial artists were preparing to do. Not long after, they all knew what this group of people was preparing to do. The Rain Empress led a group of people and captured all of them. These hundreds of people had also become part of the construction workers. Chapter 8:18. More than 100,000 god-grade warriors and hundreds of warriors above 5th-grade war gods. How terrifying was this force? Today, it was completely verified. In just 3 days, the entire Phoenix Glow Mountain Range, which spanned thousands of miles, was completely razed to the ground. In just 3 days, the leveling of the foundation was completed. All the flora and fauna in the Phoenix Glow Mountain Range were destroyed. There were no peaks or ravines. Apart from the huge pit in the center, It was as flat as the plaza in the center of Dripping Spring City. 5 masters. The rest is up to you. The Thunder Emperor cupped his fists as he looked at the black-robed elder beside him with excitement. These 5 people were spell formation masters that Feng Qi had hired from Beacon Smoke City at an exorbitant price. Sir, you are too kind. We have been paid to do this. This is what we should do. The 5 spell formation masters fearfully returned the Thunder Emperor's greeting. The tyrannical battle prowess of the Thunder Emperor and the Yi family army shocked the few of them. Feng Qi, collect the star stones. Everyone, listen to the instructions of the masters and start setting up the formation. The Thunder Emperor waved his hand, and Feng Qi took out countless spatial rings. Piles of huge stones with strange patterns flickering with azure light appeared on the ground. Star stones! So many star stones. Sir, you are so rich and daring. With so many star stones, the power of the formation in this city can be increased by 3 times. The eyes of the 5 masters lit up at the same time. Star stones were the main material used to construct the formation and were extremely valuable. So many star stones would cost at least a few trillion divine stones. Masters, feel free to use them. As long as you can increase the power of the formation in the city, star stones will not be a problem. I still have more. The Thunder Emperor grinned. He really did not lack divine stones. Yi Qinghan had given him a few trillion divine stones. His original intention was to build a super large city and wait for Yi Qinghan to come back and surprise him. The 5 grandmasters looked at each other. Their eyes were blazing with a fiery light. They didn't say a word and flew downwards. They began to command the troops of the Yi clan's army. They brought countless star stones and buried them in specific locations to build a great formation. Father, I'm afraid this city will be even bigger than Lonyang City. In the distance, 3 beautiful figures quickly flew over. Little Firework had an excited look on his face as he shouted from afar. Yes, this city is indeed quite big. Yi Yaorao was also very emotional. Just now, they had followed the Rain Empress and walked around the surroundings. They discovered that the Thunder Emperor was preparing to build the entire Phoenix Cloud mountain range. This was a place with a radius of close to 10,000 miles. Once the city was completed, it would definitely be bigger than the Prefecture Lord City, only slightly smaller than Floating City. If you want to build it, then don't build it. If you want to build it, then build it bigger. Little Knight doesn't lack divine stones, The Thunder Emperor chuckled, but a cold smile flashed in his eyes. The reason why he built the city so big was to let Lonyang City see it. He knew very well that if he returned to Lonyang City at this moment, the city would definitely belong to him in the future. However, at this moment, he did not care about it at all. He wanted to build a giant city that was much bigger than Lonyang City and give those old fellows in Lonyang City a hard slap in the face. Such a huge change in the Phoenix Cloud mountain range naturally could not be hidden from the nearby forces. In reality, when Feng Qi had teleported them from Dripping Spring City to Beacon Smoke City through the spatial ring, and then through Nether City towards the Phoenix Cloud mountain range, many people already knew what they wanted to do. Li Hai was the first to know. He was the first to discover that Feng Qi, Wu Shan, and the others had bought a large amount of materials to build the city. They had bought so many materials, if not for the fact that they had nowhere to spend them, then they were definitely going to build the city. It was just that he did not know where the city was going to be built, but now he finally knew. Wu Shan and Feng Qi were Yi Qinghan's servants. Only Yi Qinghan had enough divine stones to buy so many materials. So, even though Yi Qinghan had gone to Soul Eater City, Li Hai was very sure that Yi Qinghan was going to build this city. The strange fruit was obtained by Venerable Butterfly Dance from the Wandering Sea? Bullshit. Who are you trying to fool? Recalling that Yi Qinghan had first appeared in Nether City, Li Hai had more or less guessed the truth of many things. He also knew that once this truth was made public, it would completely shake the entire Divine Realm. The second most dangerous place in the Divine Realm was no longer a dangerous place. There were countless strange fruits and restrictions that could trap a 7th-grade war god. At that time, it would definitely attract supreme experts from other continents to come and fight for it. But once experts from other continents came, it would definitely attract the misty monarch. So Li Hai decided that this news could not be spread too far. He sat in a small hall in the city lord's mansion and pondered for an entire 2 hours. Finally, he made his decision. Yi Qinghan had to die. The Li family also had to get a share of the Seal God Valley. He summoned one of his subordinates and sent this news to someone who wanted Yi Qinghan dead, young Master Tu Xie. He planned to first kill Yi Qinghan, then tell this news to Honorable Li Quan so that the Li family could get a share of the spoils. At this moment, young Master Tu Xie not only wanted Yi Qinghan dead, he even wanted to eat him alive. In this trip to Dripping Spring City, he was defeated, utterly defeated. He had lived his entire life in pride. From a young age, he was the #1 young master of Nether City. With outstanding talent, he broke through to the God King realm at the age of 18, shocking the entire continent, including Honorable Evil Moon. The moment he was accepted as a disciple by Honorable Evil Moon, he thought that he was no longer the #1 young master of Nether City, but the #1 young master of the Misty Continent. Decades passed, and he cultivated to the peak of the God King realm. His comprehension of the supreme law of time had reached a very profound level, and he was half a step into the God Emperor realm. He was very proud, but a native that ascended from a material plane shattered his pride. Back in Misty City, Honorable Evil Moon summoned him. He did not blame him for his defeat, and even his soul defense divine artifact was stolen. Instead, he consoled him. This made him even more ashamed and angry. If Honorable Evil Moon scolded him a little, he wouldn't be so angry. The moment he walked out of Honorable Evil Moon's residence, he swore to himself that he would kill Yi Qinghan, take back his soul defense divine artifact, and take back his pride and glory. When he returned to his residence, the news sent by Li Hai had arrived. He glanced at it, and his demonic eyes suddenly lit up. He knew that his chance had come. This news matched up with the information he had gathered previously. Yi Qinghan was the Fire Dragon Plains overlord, the frigid night war god. He had come out of Sealed God Valley, and the exotic fruit at the auction was his. He wanted to build a city on top of Sealed God Valley. Putting all the information together, Tu Xie realized that the hatred between him and this young Master Yi was huge. He also realized that the opportunity to kill Yi Qinghan had come. Not long after, a piece of news arrived confirming the accuracy of his deductions. Yi Qinghan had come. He had come to Misty City. It didn't take Tu Xie much effort to figure out why Yi Qinghan had come to Misty City. He sneered, stood up, and said to the servants beside him, "Prepare the chariot. We're going to the city lord's residence." Chapter 819. This Misty City is so big. The teleportation array stopped flashing, and a group of people gradually appeared. Yi Qingwu exclaimed as she looked at the plaza that was hundreds of miles wide. They had lived in the Soul Eater City for so many years and were no longer country bumpkins who had just arrived in the immortal realm, but they were still shocked. Misty Monarch? Yi Qinghan did not look at the surrounding scenery, but stared at a huge statue that was hundreds of meters tall in front of the plaza. Needless to say, it was the Misty Monarch that was placed in the plaza of the Misty City. The statue was carved from a huge piece of white jade. It was so lifelike that even the faint beard on the Misty Monarch's chin could be seen clearly. The Misty Monarch's appearance was very elegant, and he had the air of a scholar. This statue was different from the one in Beacon Smoke City. It didn't give off any aura. Adding on the Misty Monarch's gentle appearance, it made people feel like they were looking at an ordinary stone, and they didn't feel any pressure at all. Something's wrong. When Yi Qinghan scanned the physiognomy of the statue, he felt that something was amiss. He suddenly came to his senses and looked at the eyes of the statue again. It seemed that the eyes had an indescribable power that attracted him. However, he did not find anything after looking for a while. Just when he was about to use his divine power to pour into the eyes, Lord Jiao, who was beside him, said, "Don't look. Your strength is too low. You will definitely faint for a few days if you look." Yi Qinghan was shocked and did not dare to look. He remembered the first time he saw the mysterious map and the eyes on the roof of the Misty Pavilion. It seemed that the eyes of the statue of the misty monarch definitely contained some mysteries. Lord said that unless one is a seventh-grade war god, one cannot comprehend anything from this pair of eyes, and will definitely faint if they look at it. The night before, Yi Qinghan had decided to come to Floating Mist City the next day. Lord Jiu was helpless and could only accompany everyone. He didn't even have time to introduce Yi Qinghan to Soul-Devouring City's second city lord and the city's elders. Let's go, boss. What's so good about a statue? Let's go to the city lord's mansion. I'm waiting to see your new city. Xiao He stood on Yi Qinghan's shoulder and looked around. When he did not find anything interesting, he hurriedly transmitted his voice to Yi Qinghan. Lord Jiu, where is the city lord's mansion? Yi Qinghan nodded his head and led everyone out of the teleportation formation before turning to ask Lord Jiu. This way. Lord Jiu pointed to the north, but his body did not move. His eyes suddenly narrowed as he waved his hand at the crowd and said, "Wait, we have met two old friends." Old friend? Yi Qinghan and the others raised their eyebrows. Only people from the Fire Dragon continent could be called old friends by Lord Jiu. When they followed Lord Jiu's gaze, they realized that it was indeed an old friend. In the distance, three martial artists were flying over. They had obviously seen the group. Two of the three were extremely beautiful women. As they flew over, they attracted the attention of many passersby. The one on the left was an extremely beautiful woman. She was dressed very skimpily and had a very sexy figure. However, Yi Qinghan instinctively felt that the terrifying aura of this beautiful woman was comparable to the Thunder Emperor. This was a supreme expert. On the right was a kind-looking old man. He was currently smiling at them. There were tears in his eyes. He was obviously very excited to see them. The woman in the middle was the most eye-catching. She was tall and had fair skin. Her figure was even more sexy than that of the supreme expert beside her. She wore a pure black, tight-fitting leather skirt, and the curves of her delicate body were extremely perfect. Two large breasts stood tall in front of her chest, ready to burst out. Her face was even more mesmerizing than a small firework. I can't believe I can meet this thorny lily in the immortal realm. What an ape's sh*t, goddammit. She has a supreme expert beside her. If he has any designs on my wife, I'll be in trouble. Yi Qinghan also narrowed his eyes. He looked at the beautiful woman in the middle and the supreme expert beside her. He became slightly nervous. It's the island lord and Yinling, Saber Emperor, and Yi Qingyo naturally recognized the two at a glance. Saber Emperor grinned excitedly. He was good friends with the island lord of Hidden Island. This was the first time they met since they parted at the Ascension platform. It's not Yinling, it's young lady Ling, Pay attention. Her mother is the queen of the Rain Butterfly clan. She is also a stage 8 venerable. Be more polite to her. Lord Jiu hurriedly transmitted his voice to everyone after hearing Saber Emperor's words. Hidden Turtle pays respect to Cold Emperor. 3 empresses. Lord Jiu, Saber Emperor Green Ox, hello. The island lord of Hidden Island was the first to rush over. She was full of smiles and cupped her hands towards Yi Qinghan. She looked extremely excited. Then she introduced to everyone. Ling is the princess of the Rain Butterfly clan. This is Lady Yu Pia Piao, a senior elder of the clan. Greetings, Island Lord, young Lady Ling, Lady Yu. I am Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan had no choice but to welcome them. He cupped his hands towards them and said politely, Young Master Yi actually recognizes me? I don't dare to accept your greeting. Now, young Master Ye's reputation has spread throughout the Star Sea. You are the #1 peerless young master of the Misty Continent. You are so powerful. Yu Pia Piao, who was at the side, smiled but didn't say anything. Yinling snorted coldly and swept a glance at Yi Qinghan. Then, she looked at Yu Qingcheng and the other two beside her and smiled. The 3 women's expressions changed slightly. Is this girl asking for a beating? Yi Qinghan cursed in his heart. He hadn't seen Yinling for dozens of years. Although she had become more beautiful, her womanly nature hadn't changed. He was very pressed for time now. Of course, he didn't have time to bother with her. His mentality was also not the same as before. He didn't have the mood to bicker with her. He smiled faintly and turned towards the island lord of Hidden Island and said, "Young Lady Ling, or must be joking." "Island lord, where are you going?" The island lord of Hidden Island gave Ling a meaningful glance. He was very clear about the grudge between the two. Moreover, this grudge was created by him in the past. He wanted to let Yi Qinghan suppress her. At this moment, he hurriedly tried to smooth things over. He smiled and said, "Ling has finished cultivating. It was boring to stay on the island, so I specially brought her out to play. After playing in the Misty City for half a month, I originally wanted to go to the soul-devouring city to find you. I didn't expect to meet you here." What a coincidence. Yi Qinghan frowned. This island lord was an old friend after all. He specially came to find them. If he left like this, wouldn't it be a little unreasonable? However, he was really pressed for time. Moreover, with Ling here, he didn't feel comfortable. She was no longer the little girl in the past. She had a 7th-grade war god by her side. "Island Lord, why don't you go to the soul-devouring city first? I will send a message to have someone receive you. We will come over after we finish our business." Lord Jiu saw that Yi Qinghan was in a difficult position. "There is no need. If you are not here, it would be meaningless for us to go." Ling also saw that Yi Qinghan was in a difficult position. Although she didn't know why he was in a difficult position, she was very happy to do anything that could make Yi Qinghan feel embarrassed. Her complexion suddenly changed. She revealed a sweet smile and blinked her eyes at Yi Qinghan and said, "We are also bored and want to take a walk. How about we follow you for a stroll? I promise I won't cause any trouble. Is that okay, young Master Yi?" Chapter 820. The same trick again. Yi Qinghan knitted his brows even tighter. He had only met Ling once, but he had seen her ability to change her expression in an instant. Not causing trouble? It would be strange if she did not cause trouble. However, Yi Qinghan could not refuse her. After all, they were both from the Flame Dragon continent, and it was not a big conflict. Now, they came here to reminisce about the old days. Moreover, Linger's status was different, which made Yi Qinghan even more embarrassed. "How about we two old fellows accompany you?" Saber Emperor was clear that Yi Qinghan wanted to do something important and urgent. He gave the Hidden Island Lord a look and said with a smile. The Hidden Island Lord understood and quickly said, "Cold Emperor, if you really have an urgent matter, then, Grandpa, how could Ling not see through their flirting?" She directly interrupted and pouted her little mouth in a pitiful manner. "Ling just doesn't have fun with you old men all day, so I came to find young Noble Yi and my sisters. Young Noble Yi, Ling will just follow you around. If you think that Ling is a hindrance to you, you can just tell me to leave. How about it? Young Master Yi, let the princess play with you. I guarantee that she will not cause trouble." At this time, Yu Piao, who had been standing at the side, smiled and said nothing. "Damn, it is a pity that this little vixen is not an actor." Yi Qinghan sighed helplessly. Since they had said so much, if he refused again, he would not be giving face to the Hidden Island Lord and you die. He smiled at Yu Piao and nodded. "All right, let's find a place to stay first." Under the guidance of Lord Jiu, the group walked toward the largest restaurant in the city, the Floating Fragrance Pavilion. God Emperors were common in the Floating Mist City, but 7th-grade war gods were not everywhere. Yu Piao's tyrannical aura attracted the attention of the passers-by. Linger's beauty and figure, as well as Yu Qingqing's ethereal temperament, made the gazes of the passers-by stop. In the Drifting Fragrance Pavilion, Yi Qinghan asked for 2 of the best sweets, one for himself and the other for Linger and the others. After making arrangements for everyone, Yi Qinghan took out his God of War robe, put on his bamboo hat, and went straight to the City Lord's mansion with Lord Jiu. The Misty City's City Lord residence was huge and had 9 floors. As soon as Yi Qinghan entered, he was shocked by the noisy atmosphere inside. There were hundreds of thousands of warriors on the first floor of the City Lord's mansion. There were many races that Yi Qinghan had never seen before. Moreover, it was common to see 6th-grade war gods among them. There was no time to stroll around, So Yi Qinghan and Lord Jiu went straight up to the second floor. Under Lord Jiu's lead, they arrived at a small hall. There were 3 golden-robed martial artists in the small hall, flipping through the documents in their hands. Yi Qinghan did not waste any time. He cupped his hands and said, "Greetings, my lords. What's the matter?" One of the golden-robed martial artists put down the document in his hands and asked calmly, "I would like to apply for the construction of a city." Yi Qinghan cupped his hands again. The other 2 golden-robed martial artists raised their heads and looked at the 2 of them. They seemed a little surprised that someone had come to apply for the construction of a city. Moreover, it was 2 low-level martial artists. "Are you sure?" the martial artist who spoke just now asked. When Yi Qinghan nodded his head in affirmation, he said with a solemn expression, "Building a city is a big deal. It requires the application process of the city's prefectural city, a virtual map of the city's construction site, a payment of 1 trillion celestial stones, and the things I mentioned earlier. Are you ready?" This gave Yi Qinghan a headache. This golden-robed messenger had listed a lot of things that made Yi Qinghan's head spin. Yi Qinghan did not have any of these things. He did not know anything about building a city, nor did Lei Jun and the Rain Empress. Lord Jiu was even more clueless. He had thought that there would be nothing else after paying the required amount of celestial stones. "My lord, do you think you can apply for it first? Can you make up for these things later? I can pay double the amount of celestial stones as collateral." Yi Qinghan smiled and cupped his hands again as he spoke earnestly. "Where do you think this is? Collateral? It's useless even if you get a prefectural governor to do so. If there is nothing else, please leave." The golden-robed messenger sneered and waved his hand, indicating that the 2 of them should not disturb his work. "My lord," Yi Qinghan gritted his teeth and prepared to send a telepathic message. He wanted to throw another trillion celestial stones at the 3 of them to see if this would work. However, Lord Jiu waved his hand, indicating that Yi Qinghan should not speak. He leisurely took out a black token and slapped it on the table. "This thing, is it enough as collateral?" The 3 of them were enraged. They wanted to yell and ask someone to throw them out. However, when they saw Lord Jiu's hand move away and reveal a black token, they shut their mouths immediately. They kneeled down on one knee and greeted Lord Jiu respectfully. "Greetings, my lord messenger." Yi Qinghan was also startled. Was this token that awesome? He glanced at it and was startled. There were 2 big words on the token, ethereal. Only the token of the ethereal city could make the staff of the ethereal city kneel down in fear. But he did not know what level this token was at. It seemed that Lord Devour and the ethereal monarch were somehow related. "Can you apply for this thing in advance?" Lord Jiu retrieved the token and asked faintly. She understood the power of this token. It was also the reason why she had accompanied Yi Qinghan to the ethereal city alone. With this token, no one in any city would dare to touch them. "Yes, of course we can." The 3 of them had cold sweat on their faces. Now, they knew why the 2 of them dared to apply for the construction of the city with their low realms. They knew why the 2 of them didn't know anything and hadn't prepared anything. The golden-robed messenger smiled warmly. He walked out and said, "My lords, please sit down. Someone, bring some good tea." The other 2 messengers also walked out, standing aside respectfully. Their attitude had changed several hundred times, and they were extremely good now. After the tea was served, the messenger served it personally. Then, he said respectfully, "We can apply for it in advance. Although it's not the first time, you have the monarch's order. Of course, it's not a problem. I didn't recognize Mount Tai and offended you 2 lords. I hope you don't blame me." Monarch's order. Yi Qinghan was shocked, his eyes looking at Lord Jiu. "This monarch's order, is it the ethereal monarch's token?" Lord Jiu smiled but didn't explain. She waved her hand and said to the 3 messengers, "It's okay. Go do your thing." "Okay." The 3 messengers didn't care about the 2 of them, so they let out a sigh of relief and ran back. When they were about to approve the application, they received a message that put them in a difficult position. It was from Lord Tu Xie. He sounded very overbearing. He asked the three messengers to delay the application for the three-moon queen. The ethereal monarch didn't care about worldly affairs. There were 5 venerables under him. The great venerable had been in seclusion for tens of thousands of years, so everything was managed by Evil Moon the Venerable. Evil Moon, the Venerable's favorite disciple, was ordering them. Of course, it was very difficult. In the end, the leader of the messengers, after weighing the pros and cons, decided not to offend the two sides too much. He cupped his hands and said to Lord Gio, "My lord, please fill in some simple information. We will report it to our superiors, and the application will be approved in a month." Chapter 8:21. Why is it taking so long? Yi Qinghan furrowed his brows, and his expression turned cold. He and the Thunder Emperor had estimated that it would take at most half a month. With over 100,000 warriors, the city would be built in half a month. At that time, they could just bring the city building order back and everything would be fine. But now, they needed a month? A month was not a long time, but many things could happen. Yes, shorten it a little. Lord Jiu also understood Yi Qinghan's worries. Lord Devour was not here. If he was here, then there would be nothing to worry about. My two lords building a city is a big matter. It needs to be recorded. If we go according to normal procedures, it will take at least a few years. Right now, we are all under a lot of pressure. If we go any faster, we won't be able to do anything. The golden-robed emissary gritted his teeth and could only endure it. Although this token represented one person, this person did not care about anything, and young Master Tu Xie could easily kill them. All right, Yi Qinghan sighed helplessly. He also knew that his thinking was too simple. He stood up and filled in the information with the 3 emissaries. After spending half an hour and paying 1 trillion divine stones, they received a city-building order and returned to the Drifting Fragrance Pavilion. After the 2 of them left, young Master Tu Xie walked out from the passage and sighed. He picked up the information that Yi Qinghan had filled in and looked through it. He did not blame the 3 emissaries too much. He only reminded them not to say a word about this matter and floated away. Building a city. I'll let you build a city. Young Master Tu Xie returned to his residence at the fastest speed. The matter had been confirmed, and everything was clear. Tu Xie's mood was incomparably good. Although it was not convenient for him to show himself, the sealed God Valley was enough for him to do a lot of things. The strange fruits and treasures in the sealed God Valley were coveted by countless experts. He thought that as long as the news was released, countless experts would definitely gather at the Phoenix Cloud mountain range. Although the iron law of the divine world forbade killing, this iron law outside the city was regarded as a piece of paper by almost all experts. As long as the city building order wasn't issued, the Phoenix Cloud mountain range was a wilderness, and anyone could do whatever they wanted there. Grand Elder Tu Hua, go to the Golden Horn Mansion and tell the crippled emperor that if he misses this chance, he won't have another chance to kill Yi Qinghan. After that, go to the Heavenly Demon Mansion and tell young Master Lian Hua that Yi Qinghan is planning to build a city in the Phoenix Cloud mountain range. He knows what to do. Tu Xie sneered and became very excited. He waved his hand and said to another Grand Elder Tu Shan, go and invite the Patriarch to come out of seclusion. Tell him to pay a visit to Feng Yin Prefecture Lord Xiangdi. Xiangdi has always been very interested in Sealed God Valley. I think he will be even more interested this time. Someone send this news to Dragon Sun Manor, Hunter Battles Manor, and Blood Moon Manor. Remember, don't do it yourself. Arrange for someone to send the news to the peerless young masters of their mansions anonymously. They will know what to do. As Tu Xie issued one order after another, his demonic eyes shone brighter and brighter. An event that was about to shock the entire continent was about to happen under his own arrangements. He really enjoyed the feeling of planning strategies and deciding the outcome of a battle from 1,000 miles away. Recently, Yi Qinghan's mind was a little uneasy. He seemed to feel that something big was about to happen. However, the message he sent to Lei Zhen was that everything was normal. The city was about to be built, and it was just waiting for his city building order. Bored, he wandered around the city with the 3 ladies, Yin Ling Er. Yin Ling Er was really obedient. Although she often mocked and ridiculed him, She didn't do anything out of line. Yi Qinghan didn't have the mood to argue with her. He kept an eye on the progress of the Phoenix Cloud Mountain Range while waiting for Lord Devour to return and the city building order. After staying in the Misty City for 20 days, the Misty Fragrance Pavilion welcomed two special guests, Li Shui Heir and Li He City Lord. The moment Xiao He saw Li Shui Heir, he didn't hesitate and dashed into the room, just like a mouse that had seen a cat. However, before he could activate the protective cover of the room, Li Shui Heir smashed the door with a punch. Xiao He didn't care anymore. He smashed the protective cover of the window and dashed out of the city. Li Shui Heir followed him closely. In the blink of an eye, the two of them disappeared. Madame Jiu hurried to chase after them. She was worried about Xiao Hei's safety. Li He City Lord gave Yi Qinghan a strange look. Yi Qinghan forced a smile and wanted to explain to Li He City Lord. Unexpectedly, a message that came from the communication token made his expression change instantly. Ignoring Li He, he shouted at Madame Jiu, who had just walked out of the door. Madame Jiu, hurry up and chase after Xiao He. We're in big trouble. Hurry up. Don't ask so many questions. After you catch him, go straight to the transportation formation. Qing Chung, Little Yu, Little Wu, Grandpa Green Bull, Saber Emperor. Hurry up and enter Carefree Pavilion. Yi Qinghan waved his hand, and a golden door appeared in the room. He shouted at the few people who were in a daze. The few people quickly came to their senses. Without asking so many questions, they entered Carefree Pavilion. Yi Qinghan then cupped his hands at the island lord of Li He's hidden island, Yu Pia Piao, and Yin Ling He said bitterly, "Everyone, I have urgent matters to attend to. I want to accompany you. I'll take my leave first. I'll make it up to you in the future." After saying that, Yi Qinghan flew out of the protective cover of the room that Xiao He had broken and headed for the public square. "Little brother Yi, aren't you treating me like an outsider? Wait for me." Li He was stunned by Yi Qinghan, but instantly understood that something must have happened to Yi Qinghan. How could he let go of such a good opportunity to do him a favor? He hurried to fly out. This Misty City is very boring. Let's go and have some fun. Yin Ling yawned. Suddenly, a pair of beautiful five-colored wings appeared on her back. She immediately followed. Yu Pia Piao laughed bitterly and chased after them with the island lord. When Yi Qinghan flew to the teleportation circle, Lord Jiu had already brought Xiao He and Li Shui. They were waiting beside the teleportation circle. Yi Qinghan did not waste any time. He let Xiao He enter the B space. Then, the city building order appeared in his hand. He handed it to Lord Jiu and said, "Something happened over there. I'll go over first. When the things here are out, please send them to me immediately. Miss Shui, I'll explain to you later." After saying that, Yi Qinghan threw a Godstone crystal card to the guard of the teleportation circle. He immediately stepped into the teleportation circle to Beacon Smoke City. Without waiting for Li He and Yin Ling to catch up, he shouted to the guard, "Activate the teleportation circle." That's right. Yi Qinghan wanted to rush back to the Phoenix Cloud Mountain Range immediately. Thunder Emperor sent a message. There was movement near the Phoenix Cloud Mountain Range. Many experts had appeared. Moreover, there was an endless stream of experts rushing over. It was very likely that they were going to attack the city. Yi Qinghan was not afraid of attacking the city. Even if it was breached, it was fine. At most, he would retreat back to Seal God Valley. Most importantly, as the owner of Seal God Valley, he had to return. As long as Yi Qinghan could return, as long as they dared to enter, even if it was a grade 8 venerable, he could make them kneel. If he did not return and the city was breached, no one would control the restriction in Seal God Valley. If it was forcefully breached, it would be a huge loss. Li He, what happened? Li Shui looked at the teleportation circle light up. Yi Qinghan's figure disappeared into the teleportation circle with a solemn expression. She quickly asked Li He, "I don't know either. However, I know that young Master Yi must have encountered some trouble." Li He shook her head and said, "Then what are we waiting for? Follow him immediately. If it really doesn't work, I will send a message to my father." Li Shui was anxious. When the teleportation circle light dimmed, she immediately stepped onto the teleportation circle. Li also followed. To Li He and Li Shui, it was not a big deal. At most, they would send a message to honor Li Quan. Everything would be settled. Wait, let's go too. I think we might be able to help Yi Qinghan. A few figures rushed in. It was Yin Ling, and the others. Li Shui, didn't care anymore. She directly threw a piece of Godstone crystal card over and shouted, "Activate the teleportation circle." Madame Jiu didn't follow. Instead, she turned around and flew towards another teleportation circle. She knew what Yi Qinghan meant. Something had happened to the Phoenix Cloud mountain range. Although she wasn't sure what had happened, Madame Jiu felt that it was right to return to Soul-Devouring City to gather troops first. Chapter 8:22. When Li Shui and the others teleported to Beacon Smoke City, they saw Yi Qinghan's back disappear into another small teleportation formation. They quickly chased after him. They didn't ask where Yi Qinghan was teleporting to. When the light of the teleportation formation dimmed, they immediately followed. When they teleported to Nether City, they found that Yi Qinghan was already gone. Li Shui was anxious, but Li He's city lord scanned with his divine senses and immediately discovered Yi Qinghan's figure. He immediately grabbed Li Shui and sprinted forward while shouting, "Follow me." Yu Piao smiled faintly and led Yin Ling and the Hidden Island's island lord out of the city. Yi Qinghan's speed was fast, but he still couldn't outrun Li He and Yu Piao. It didn't take long for them to catch up. Yi Qinghan looked back in alarm and smiled bitterly. He didn't stop and asked, "Why are you following me? It's dangerous here." "What's so dangerous? Isn't Uncle Li He here? What happened to Big Brother Yi? Do you want me to send a message to my father?" Li Shui said carelessly, as though she was not afraid of anything. Yin Linger snorted, dissatisfied with Yi Qinghan's overreaction. She said with disdain, "Young Master Yi, are you looking down on me? Elder Yu Piao's speed is comparable to an 8th grade war god. How many people on the Misty Continent can catch up to her? Even those who can catch up to her know my mother. The Misty Continent is not dangerous to me." Yu Piao smiled faintly, and a pair of huge 5-colored wings appeared on her back. She turned around and brought Yin Linger and the island lord to Nether City. In the next second, they appeared outside of Nether City. Even with their eyesight, they could only see a small dot. When they could see clearly, a strong wind shot over like lightning. Yu Piao's figure appeared in front of Yi Qinghan again. Yi Qinghan was dumbfounded. This place was hundreds of thousands of miles away from Nether City. Yu Piao's speed was shocking. "Mr. Yi, do you have any other questions?" A trace of pride flashed through Yin Linger's eyes. The Rain Butterfly clan was most proud of their speed. Their ability to escape was top-notch. In the Misty Continent, there was no danger at all. "All right, follow me." Yi Qinghan shrugged his shoulders helplessly. These young ladies of the super clans really had nothing better to do. Yi Qinghan turned into a gust of wind, and his figure gradually faded away. He took a step forward, and in the next second, he had already appeared tens of thousands of meters away. Li He and Li Shui had seen this speed before. However, this was the first time Yin Ling and the others had seen such a thing, and they couldn't help but feel slightly shocked. It seemed that the #1 young master of the floating mist continent had his own unique traits. The three of them sprinted towards the Phoenix Cloud mountain range. Li He and Li Shui had more or less guessed where Yi Qinghan was going. However, they didn't know why Yi Qinghan was going to the Phoenix Cloud mountain range. After flying for an hour, Yi Qinghan stopped. He waved his hand, and a golden door appeared. He said to Grand Elder Yu Piao, "Time is pressing. Island Lord, can you enter the unfettered pavilion? I'll ask Lord Yu to bring me along. My speed is still too slow." Yu Piao nodded, and the Island Lord of Hidden Island flashed into the misty pavilion. Li Shui and Yin Ling also went in. This way, the three of them could travel faster. Under Yi Qinghan's instructions, Yu Piao and Li He started to travel at full speed. The three of them didn't rush towards the Phoenix Cloud mountain range directly. Instead, they flew towards the left for a few hundred miles. Then, they made a detour and flew towards the Phoenix Cloud mountain range. Yu Piapiao and Li He flew at full speed. Their speed was as fast as lightning. Previously, Leijun only used 60% of his speed, and it took him 3 days to reach the Nether City. Now, the three of them only needed a little more than a day to see the Phoenix Cloud mountain range from afar. "Wait!" Yi Qinghan suddenly shouted. Yu Piapiao and Li He quickly stopped. However, the two of them didn't look at Yi Qinghan. Instead, they looked at the Phoenix Cloud mountain range in shock. Even Yi Qinghan was slightly shocked. The Phoenix Cloud mountain range in the distance could no longer be called a mountain range. It was because there was an incomparably majestic city standing on the Phoenix Cloud mountain range. The green city walls were a few hundred meters tall, and the entire city was wrapped in a huge green shield. The Green Gate was like the southern heavenly gate of the ancient heavenly court. It was extraordinary. On the gate, there were 3 big words written in calligraphy, telling everyone that another super city had been built. Li took a look at the city wall and roughly knew the layout of the city. She glanced at Yi Qinghan and said, "Fire Dragon City? Someone actually built a huge city on the Phoenix Cloud mountain range? This city seems to be bigger than Dripping Spring City. Which family has such wealth and courage?" Yes, someone actually dares to build a new city on the second most dangerous place on the continent? Does he have so many godstones that he has nowhere to spend them? Isn't he afraid that the next challenge will be built for someone else? Yu Piapiao was also shocked. Her beautiful face was filled with a huge question mark. "Actually, I built this city." Yi Qinghan touched his nose. He didn't expect Leijun to build such a huge city. Moreover, he just casually said that it was called Fire Dragon City, and Leijun really named it Fire Dragon City. Li chuckled as if he had expected it. Yu Piapiao opened her mouth slightly. She was getting more and more interested in this number 1 young master, Yi Qinghan. "Let's go in first. I have already sent a message to them to open the shield." Yi Qinghan smiled. He was very excited. He had finally built a city that belonged to him. As long as he could protect this city, the billions of people in the Fire Dragon continent would have their own territory. When they ascended to the immortal realm, they would no longer have to worry about all kinds of dangers. This was his route, the route of the Fire Dragon continent. Indeed, as soon as Yi Qinghan finished speaking, the green shield above the city flashed and disappeared. Li He and Yu Piapiao didn't hesitate. Their figures flashed, and they entered the city. Yi family army greets Yi Di. When Yi Qinghan appeared in the city, the barrier was activated once again. Countless cultivators flew up from the plaza in the city and knelt down on one knee in mid-air as they shouted loudly, "Little Yi, Qinghan, little man, big brother Yi." At the same time, Thunder Monarch and Rain Empress brought Yi Yaorao and Lei Yinhua into mid-air. They looked at Yi Qinghan with joy. "Comrades, and hello everyone. Thank you for your hard work." When Yi Qinghan saw this scene, he almost said something wrong again. He looked around and realized that the entire city was incomparably majestic and huge. Although many of the buildings had yet to take shape, just by looking at the layout and structure, as long as Yi Qinghan was given enough time, he would definitely be able to make the new city grow and eventually become a super city that could rival Dripping Spring City. "Uncle Leijun, let the Yi family army return to their positions. Let's find a place to talk first. Let me introduce you. This is Li He's city lord. Rain Empress should have met him before. This is Elder Yu Piapiao, the strongest of the Rain Butterfly clan. Big brother Li He, Lord Yu this is." Although Yi Qinghan was very excited, he didn't lose his composure. He quickly introduced them to each other. Leijun Empress and Li He and Yu Piapiao quickly exchanged pleasantries. At the same time, they were secretly shocked. Leijun and Rain Empress were surprised that Yi Qinghan's background was getting bigger and bigger. It was just a trip to grief and indignation, but he even had connections with the Rain Butterfly clan. Li He and Yu Piapiao, on the other hand, were astonished. How could the continent's number 1 young master be considered a young master when there were more than 100,000 Yi clan soldiers just now? Even a great clan wouldn't have as many powerful subordinates as he did. Chapter 823. As the four of them exchanged greetings, Yi Qinghan knocked on the door of Carefree Pavilion and transmitted his voice to Yu Qingsheng and the others to come out. Unexpectedly, the first one to come out was Xiao He, followed by Li Shui, who was holding a shining divine sword. She ignored everyone else and continued to chase after Xiao He. She had probably caused a ruckus inside again. The third to come out was Ling. When Ling came out, her beauty and figure made Lei Jun and the others shudder. However, when Ling saw a little smoke, her eyes lit up, causing Yi Qinghan and Lei Jun to frown. "Little Han, is this your new city?" Yi Qingwu came out and looked at the new city that was still under construction. She couldn't believe it. Then Yu Qingsheng, Yi Qingyu, Yi Qingyou, and the others were also shocked. Although they all knew that Yi Qinghan was building a city, they were still shocked when they saw it, especially when the city looked bigger than Soul Eater City. "Big brother, who are these four beautiful sisters?" Little Smoke instinctively felt that the relationship between the four of them and Yi Qinghan was not normal. Although she knew that Yi Qinghan had wives, she didn't expect him to have so many. The Rain Empress glanced at Yi Qinghan subconsciously. "Heathen, Uncle Lei Jun, let's go to a more convenient place to talk." Yi Qinghan was extremely embarrassed. This was really hard to answer. He couldn't introduce them to Yu Qingsheng and the others. "This is a woman who has been with me for many years in the immortal realm. This is a friend with benefits with me. This little girl is interested in me, and I'm not ready to make a move yet. Let's go and take a look at our newly built City Lord's mansion." Lei Jun hurriedly saved the situation and led everyone to a huge building at the side of the plaza. The layout of the entire Flame Dragon City was based on the design of the City Lord's mansion. The City Lord's mansion was built as soon as it was built outside the city. With 5 master formation architects and more than 100,000 Yi family soldiers, the construction of the city was quite fast. God-rank martial artists were all experts who could overturn the heavens and the seas. A small matter like building a house was not difficult for them. The City Lord Manor was mighty and imposing, but it was clear that time was tight. There was no time to decorate, so it was a bit impatient. No one paid much attention to it. It had only been less than a month, and it was already commendable to be built to this extent. Lei Jun led everyone to a super large hall on the top floor. Gorgeous furniture had already been arranged in the hall. Although the walls were empty, they were still clean. Yao Rao, little firework, Shou Qingcheng, and Miss Ling are around. "I have something to discuss with Uncle Lei Jun." As soon as Yi Qinghan sat down, he waved his hand and told the group of women to go play by themselves. Since it was not easy to introduce them, then there was no need to do so. They could introduce themselves. "Sisters, let Yao Rao show you around." Yi Yao Rao was very sensible and obediently bowed to Yu Qingsheng and the others. She even put on a very humble attitude and called them sisters. Yi Qingwu angrily glared at Yi Qinghan, but she didn't flip out. Yu Qingsheng always had the demeanor of a matriarch. Moreover, her temperament was out of this world. She smiled gently at Yi Qinghan and said, "All right, I'll have to trouble little sister then." Yi Qinghan pretended not to see anything. After the women left, he turned to Lei Jun and said, "What's the situation now? We're all on the same side. Don't worry and speak." "Demonic the Arch, tell us what you have found out." Lei Jun turned to look at the demonic the Arch who was sitting below him. The demonic the Arch had always been in charge of intelligence. He had countless demonic beasts under his command. It was like the demonic the Arch had countless eyes and could easily find out the situation outside the city. Reporting to Yi Qinghan, the demonic the Arch stood up and respectfully bowed to Yi Qinghan and said, "2 groups of supreme experts have appeared in the northern direction outside the city. Among them, there are 3 7th-grade war gods, 33 6th-grade war gods, and more than 360 5th-grade war gods. There is a group of experts in the southern part of the city. There are 2 7th-grade war gods, 26 6th-grade war gods, and more than 230 5th-grade war gods. There is also a group of experts in the western part of the city. There are 1 7th-grade war god, 21 6th-grade war gods, and more than 280 5th-grade war gods." So many. Yi Qinghan sucked in a breath of cold air. There were 6 7th-grade war gods, close to 100 6th-grade war gods, and nearly 1,000 5th-grade war gods. If there were only these people attacking the city, Yi Qinghan would not be afraid. Including Li He and Piao Piao, there were 6 7th-grade war gods on their side. Moreover, the Thunder Emperor was at the peak of 7th grade. The Rain Empress and Li He were both soul cultivators. The number of 6th grade and 5th grade war gods was also more than the number of people outside. However, this was only the number of people that could be detected on the surface. What if there were still hidden experts? Moreover, these people were not attacking the city now. This meant that they were probably waiting for reinforcements. If more experts came, then this matter would be in danger. Little Yi, I think the news of us building the city was leaked in advance. Perhaps there are people secretly investigating us. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gathered so many people in such a short time. Lei Zhen's mouth was slightly bitter. This fiery dragon city had cost him a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. If it was conquered just like that, he would definitely go crazy. He would also become the laughingstock of those old fellows in Longyang City. Yi Qinghan's expression was grave. Originally, he thought that even if the city was destroyed, it would be fine. He could directly enter the Apotheosis Valley. At the worst, he could just wait for the city creation order to arrive and then rebuild the city. Now that he had returned, he found that the city had already been built. When he saw the 3 words, Fiery Dragon City, he felt that this city had already fused with his blood. He definitely wouldn't give up until the last moment. After muttering to himself for a moment, his eyes shone with determination. He said to Lei Zhen, "Uncle Lei Zhen, the city creation token will arrive in 9 days. Do you have the confidence to defend for 9 days? If it's just the people outside, we can rely on this formation to defend ourselves. If more experts come, then I can't guarantee anything. If a venerable expert comes to attack the city, then there will be no hope at all." Lei Zhen was very clear about how serious the situation was. The news of the Apotheosis Valley had definitely been leaked. Now it was obvious how many experts were attacking the city. "Little man, can you send a message to the Venerable in the number 1 private room of the auction house to help? If she can come, then this city will be absolutely safe," the Rain Empress said leisurely. She calmly looked at Li He and asked about Yi Qinghan. Her words were very skillful. "Number 1 private room?" Yi Qinghan shook his head and helplessly sighed. "That lord isn't in the floating continent right now, and I can't contact him. If he comes, then there definitely won't be a problem." "Ah!" Li He, who had been sitting silently, suddenly laughed. He waved his hand at Yi Qinghan and said, "Little brother Yi, what's the rush? Madame Jia Wu isn't here, but our venerable is here. Tell young lady Shui Air to send a message that our venerable might bring people over. If our venerable comes, who would dare to attack?" After Lei Zhen and the Rain Empress, Yi Qinghan's eyes lit up. If Venerable Li Quan brought people over, this city would indeed be able to be defended. However, the experts outside were definitely Palace Lord level figures. Would Venerable Li Quan offend so many people for him? Yi Qinghan asked hesitantly, "Big brother Li He, will Venerable Li Quan come? There's no harm in trying." Li He smiled mysteriously and didn't give a definite answer. This matter was very serious, and he obviously didn't have the right to give an answer. "Young Master Yi." At this moment, something even stranger happened. Yu Pia Piao, who had been silent since she came in, also spoke. "Actually, you can try to convince our little princess. If she is willing to send a message back, our venerable might come as well. Our venerable dotes on her the most." Chapter 8:24. Yu Pia Piao's words shocked Lei Zhen and the Rain Empress once again. Even Yi Qinghan was baffled. Li had a good relationship with Yi Qinghan, so it was normal for him to do him a favor. What was the relationship between Yu Pia Piao and Yi Qinghan? Her words sounded like she was begging Yi Qinghan to open his mouth so that Yi Qinghan would do her a favor. Yi Qingyo, Blade Emperor and the Island Lord of Hidden Island, had not said a word since they left the Carefree Pavilion. They did not dare to say anything. They knew that Yi Qinghan was very powerful now, but they did not expect him to be this powerful. They knew what a supremacy meant. That was a person who could reach the heavens. Yi Qinghan actually had the ability to invite a supremacy? Was this still the seventh son of the Yi family? Was this still their Frost Emperor? Looking at Yi Qinghan, who was chatting and laughing with several seventh-grade warriors, they were a little dazed. It was as if they were not looking at Yi Qinghan, but an overlord, a supreme expert. The Wind Emperor and the Demon Emperor were also secretly shocked. Although this master's realm was low, the power behind him seemed to be very powerful. He was always talking about this supremacy and that supremacy and calling two seventh-grade war gods brothers. He was very comfortable. Could it be that their master's true identity was actually the son of the Misty Mountain Lord? Things were almost settled. After asking the Thunder Emperor and the Rain Empress to take good care of Li He and Yu Piapiao, Yi Qinghan stood up and walked outside, ready to ask Li Shuai'er and Yin Ling'er for help. After flying around the city, Yi Qinghan was very satisfied with the Thunder Emperor's design. The city was also divided into 4 districts. The north was the main city district, where their own people lived. The east and west sides were empty and had not been built. They would be built by warriors or families who planned to settle here in the future. The south was the trade and entertainment district, which was already under construction. This was a good place to earn divine stones. The annual rent was a large amount of divine stones. As for the teleportation formation in the plaza, it hadn't been built yet. They had to go to Floating City to apply for it and wait for the people there to build it. Not long after, they found Xiao He and the others. Xiao He was lying on Yi Qingyu's shoulder, winking at Li Shuai'er. Yu Qingcheng, Yao Rao, Yin Ling'er, and the others seemed to be getting along well. Everyone flew slowly in the city, observing the bustling construction. Miss Shuai'er, Yi Qinghan, and the others flew over and smiled at the crowd. However, he did not approach them. Instead, he said to Li Shuai'er, "Can I have a word with you? I need your help with something." Li Shuai'er glared at Xiao He angrily. She sheathed her sword and flew towards Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan opened the door of Misty Mist Pavilion and let Li Shuai'er in. Then, he followed her in. Although everyone in the city could be considered as his own people, Yi Qinghan decided to keep it a secret just in case. "Miss Shuai'er, can you do me a favor and send a message to your father? Ask him to help me defend the city. In the future, I am willing to give 20% of the exotic fruits in Apotheosis Valley to the Leaf family. Right now, there are 6th grade, 7th grade war gods outside, close to 100 6th grade war gods." Yi Qinghan greeted Elder Liu, who was guarding the Misty Mist Pavilion, and went straight to the point. He also told Li Shuai'er about the situation in Flame Dragon City and all the information about the enemies outside without hiding anything. "I can't make the decision on this. I will send the information over. I think it is very likely that my father will bring people over." Li Shuai'er originally thought that Yi Qinghan had only encountered some small trouble. She did not expect it to be experts from several prefectures who were preparing to attack the new city built by Yi Qinghan. This matter was a little serious. Of course, she did not dare to speak carelessly. She could only try to put in a good word for Yi Qinghan. After the two of them left, Li Shuai'er immediately took out her messaging jade talisman and began to send messages. Not long after, Honorable Li Quan sent a message. He said that he needed to convene a meeting of the patriarchs. After all, this matter was of great importance and might cause a chaotic war between several prefectures. Yi Qinghan heaved a sigh of relief. Honorable Li Quan immediately replied and even said that he needed to convene a meeting of the patriarchs. This meant that he attached great importance to this matter, and there was a high chance that he would bring people over. In order to prevent any accidents, Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly. He cupped his hands at Yin Ling'er and said, "Miss Ling'er, can I have a word with you?" To Yi Qinghan's surprise, Yin Ling'er actually nodded and directly flew into the Carefree Pavilion. She even gave Yi Qinghan an extremely alluring smile. "We are talking business, talking business." Looking at the meaningful smiles on Yi Qingwu and the others, Yi Qinghan hurriedly cupped his hands and explained with a bitter smile. Then, under the increasingly unfathomable gazes of the crowd, He fled, causing a wave of laughter. Young Master Yi, why did you invite me in? A man and a woman alone. Could it be that you have some improper thoughts? Ling leisurely sat in the hall of the carefree pavilion and played with a spirit fruit on the table. She winked at Yi Qinghan, causing Yi Qinghan, who had just appeared, to almost stumble and fall on his butt. Miss Ling, you must be joking. How would I dare? Yi Qinghan had a vague feeling that it was not a good idea to meet Ling alone. Young Master Yi, you're too modest. I don't know what you don't dare to do. Ling's large eyes blinked. Her snow-white breasts were even more alluring. As she spoke, she kept playing with the spirit fruit in her hand, causing the two big weapons on her chest to tremble. Yi Qinghan's expression instantly became incomparably awkward. He cursed in his heart. Didn't I slap you twice and peek at your big breasts? It has been so many years, but he still remembers it. A woman's breasts are big, but her chest is not necessarily big, Miss Ling, I was wrong. I will apologize to you, okay? Let's talk business first, okay? If this matter succeeds, you can tell me any conditions you have. Since he was asking for help, Yi Qinghan had no choice but to put down his temper and apologize. Ling's eyes revealed a sly light. She opened her mouth and bit the spirit fruit. Her red lips and white teeth were incomparably attractive. She slowly swallowed the spirit fruit and said faintly, "Speak. Please send a message to your mother and ask her to bring people to help defend the city. As long as this city can be saved, I can give the Rain Butterfly clan 10% of the spirit fruits in Seal God Valley. The current situation outside the city is like this." Yi Qinghan explained in detail to Ling. After Ling listened, she muttered to herself, which made Yi Qinghan happy. In his heart, he thought that Ling was seriously considering the pros and cons of this matter. Unexpectedly, after a moment of silence, Ling suddenly opened her mouth. "I can help you with this. Of course, the condition is that you must let that little firework play with me for a few days. How about it?" F***CK. Yi Qinghan's eyes darkened, and he almost fell down from his chair. He stood up and coldly said, "I didn't say anything just now. Miss Ling, let's go. One day is fine. Young Master Yi, don't be so stingy. I can see that little girl has a good impression of you. How about the three of us play together?" Ling didn't get up from her chair. Her eyes blinked and her eyelashes fluttered as she gave another suggestion. "Miss Ling, please remember our identities. If you say such things again, I will fall out with you." Although Yi Qinghan was very tempted by Ling's suggestion, he still decisively rejected it. If this were to reach Lei Zhen's ears, wouldn't he tear him apart? Don't be angry. My dear young Master Yi, it was just a joke. There is no need to be so serious. Ling stood up and swayed her plump buttocks. She reached out her lily-white hand and patted Yi Qinghan's chest. Then, her expression turned serious as she said, "How about this? You owe me 3 favors. I will ask you to do 3 things in the future. Of course, they will be within your capabilities and won't be too excessive. What do you think?" "What kind of things?" Yi Qinghan vigilantly asked. Ling smiled sweetly and said, "I haven't thought about it yet. Let's talk about it later." "All right." Yi Qinghan helplessly sighed. Since he had decided to defend Fiery Dragon City, it was worth it to pay a little bit. If Ling's request was too excessive, he could still refuse. Ling's eyes flashed with a trace of success. After walking out of the gate of the free and unfettered pavilion, she giggled and transmitted her voice. "Very well. Go and send the message right away. However, I can't guarantee that my mother will come. She's a bit busy these days. Damn." Yi Qinghan's legs turned soft again. He felt as if he had been played by this devilish woman. Chapter 8:25. The arrangements were more or less done. They just had to wait for the heavens arrangement. In the following period of time, Yi Qinghan ordered the demon of the Arch to mobilize all the low-tier demonic beasts and began to secretly observe the movements and personnel of the experts outside. They also began to analyze which prefecture these experts came from the demon Thearch's intelligence. With all the information, and Li He, who knew all the major families of the continent like the back of his hand, the identity of the martial artists outside was easily confirmed. Xiang Di of Beacon House, Yang Di of Hundred Battles House, Empress Lian of Heavenly Demon House, and someone who made Lei Jin's face turn ashen. The ancestor of the Lei family of Longyang Prefecture, Lei Kuang, Mad Emperor. Lei Jun's ancestor, the Lei family and Beacon House each sent 2 7th-grade war gods. The Lei family had the most 6th and 5th-grade war gods. Lei Jun estimated that almost all the experts of the Lei family had come. In less than half a day, the Beast Emperor reported that another group of experts had come. There were 3 7th-grade war gods, more than 100 6th-grade war gods, and more than 500 5th-grade war gods. Lei Jun, Li He, and the others were astonished when they heard the news. Needless to say, this group of people belonged to the Prefecture Master's family. All the experts of the family were mobilized. It was not strange that the Seal God Valley could attract so many superfamilies. However, the Lei family and this family had mobilized all their experts, which was strange. No matter how good a treasure was, it was just a treasure. However, the prefectures were their roots. How could they not leave some experts in their families? Golden Horn Prefecture? Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly. He knew why this family was so impulsive. When the Beast Emperor's news came, they knew that the invaders were the experts of the Golden Horn Divine Clan, and the leader was the crippled emperor. The 2 horns of the Golden Horn Divine Clan were too easy to recognize. The crippled emperor had turned out in full force. Needless to say, they were after the 12th godly sword of the Soul Emperor Pavilion. Knight Emperor Lords, all the experts are gathering towards the north. Their people are guarding the north. My people cannot approach. While everyone was confused, the Beast Emperor opened his eyes and reported, "All of you get out. I think they are preparing to attack." Lei Jun stood up, and the aura around his body began to condense. His killing intent was overwhelming, and it was obvious that he was prepared for a big battle. The Lei clan seemed to have completely broken his heart. The Rain Empress and Demon Sovereign Yi Qinghan immediately followed suit. Li He also stood up immediately. He was very clear that even if he stood out, no one would dare to kill him. At most, he would be crippled. Since that was the case, why not sell a favor to Yi Qinghan? What made Yi Qinghan puzzled was that Yu Piao did not hesitate and immediately followed. For some reason, it was obvious that she wanted to help them to the end. All ye family army, assemble. Those above 5th grade war god will gather at the north of the city. Those below 5th grade war god will gather at the plaza. Everyone flew out of the plaza. Yi Qinghan's divine power revolved around him as he shouted. Since they were prepared to defend to the death, they had to be prepared. At Yi Qinghan's command, countless martial artists soared into the air. The lower rank, 5 martial artists in the city who were constructing also gathered in the square. The Flame Dragon City was slightly smaller than the Misty City, but the square was even bigger. In fact, the entire square was covered with a huge array formation. That was because the entrance to the Seal God Valley was right below the square. Yi Qinghan was prepared to let these lower-level martial artists enter the Sealed God Valley if the situation turned for the worse. After all, in a battle of this level, they would not be able to help. Countless people instantly gathered in the square. The North City was also filled with experts and demonic beasts. In total, there were more than 2,000 people. These were all upper-rank, 5 martial artists and demonic beasts. Their combat power was definitely comparable to that of a superfamily. Li He and Yu Piao were shocked again. They were extremely puzzled as to how Yi Qinghan was able to subdue such a powerful army. A young divine king actually had subordinates that were comparable to an overlord. Even many prefecture masters could not compare to him. This was truly an inconceivable matter. Yi Qinghan and the rest also flew over. Li Shui, Yinling, and Yu Qingqing also knew the seriousness of the matter. They did not dare to make a fuss and flew over obediently, following beside Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan had instructed them that once the battle started, They were to follow him immediately. Following him would definitely guarantee their safety. The atmosphere in the entire Flame Dragon City began to condense. There was no wind in the city, but everyone had a feeling that a storm was brewing. Boom! Boom! At this moment, there was a series of explosions outside the city. Outside the Phoenix Glow Mountain Range, countless lower-level demonic beasts hidden in the stone peaks, forests, ravines, and caves were being eliminated. Countless experts began to split into small teams and easily killed the lower-level demonic beasts that covered the mountains and plains. Yi Qinghan hurriedly ordered the Demon Emperor to control these lower-level demonic beasts to escape. These were the best spies. It would be a pity if they were killed just like that. All the demonic beasts in the north of the city had fled. These experts all returned to their teams and formed several huge square formations in the north, surrounding a tent on the northern plains. Everyone poured their divine energy into their eyes and began to observe the enemy's military situation. However, they discovered that among the thousands of experts, there was not a single 7th-grade war god. It was obvious that the leaders of the various armies, the prefecture heads, were currently in that tent discussing the siege. Should I go out and check with my divine sense? The Rain Empress suggested. Her soul was the most powerful among everyone present, and so was her divine sense. If she were to secretly check, she might be able to find out what was going on in that tent. Li He shook his head and rejected the Rain Empress' suggestion. It's useless. That tent is a treasure. Even an 8th-grade war god's divine sense can't secretly check it. Everyone pondered and realized that she was right. With so many experts, it was normal for them to have such a treasure. However, they were all curious about what was being discussed inside the tent. Inside the tent, they were obviously discussing the war and the aftermath. A simple square stone table was placed inside the tent. Both sides of the table were filled with experts. If Yi Qinghan and the others saw this, they would definitely be shocked. There were only 9 7th-grade war gods in the tent. There were a total of 13. The 13 7th-grade war gods sat on both sides of the table in silence. The one who had been talking was the young master sitting at the head of the table. It was young Master Tuxie. Everyone, do you have any questions? If not, get ready to set off. We'll talk after we conquer this bird city. Today, Tuxie was not as arrogant as he was in the past. There was a faint smile on his face, which made people feel closer to him. Young Master Tu, are you sure? The information you just gave us is equivalent to not giving us any information. We have all this information. What we want to know is, will Honorable Li Quan take action this time? Will the one in the north not take action? Otherwise, once we take action, we will only be waiting for death. You want us to risk the lives of our entire families for some strange fruits? Do you think we are fools? Emperor Xiang, who was sitting on the left, had the most fiery temper. He wore a golden battle suit and was as handsome as the statue in the smoke beacon manner. He snorted coldly, expressing his dissatisfaction with Tuxie. Everyone nodded their heads. If it weren't for these two, they would have taken action long ago. Why would they wait until now? Emperor Xiang, don't be hasty. Young Master Tuxie was suppressed by Yi Qinghan. It was as if he had been scolded by Emperor Xiang. However, he was not angry at all. He calmly said, I can tell you clearly that Honorable Butterfly Dance is not in the Misty Continent. As long as you take this city and kill Yi Qinghan, I can immediately apply for another city. I guarantee that the city building order will be delivered within 2 hours. When that time comes, even if Honorable Butterfly Dance returns, would she dare to take the risk and attack the city? If she dares to attack the city, my master will immediately take action and ask the sovereign to crush her to death. As for Honorable Li Quan, you don't have to worry about him. I have already asked a reclusive honorable to take action. If Honorable Li Quan dares to make a move, he will immediately take action. Chapter 826. Young Master Tuxie revealed a confident expression on his face. Even though he was sitting among the group of supreme experts, he was incomparably calm and had his own imposing manner. After shocking the group of experts, he continued, Everyone, I can tell you clearly that there are at least 10 7th-grade war gods and more than 1,000 experts hiding in the vicinity. Once we succeed, they will definitely attack. This city must be conquered today. This time, everyone was completely shocked. It seemed like they weren't the only ones who had their eyes on the Sealed God Valley. There were many other experts who were eyeing the Sealed God Valley covetously. The head of the Lei clan, Lei Kuang, who had been silent all this while, suddenly opened his eyes and shot out 2 rays of golden light. He said, "Who is the reclusive venerable? If I'm not sure, I won't dare to fight this battle. At worst, I'll just ask young Master Yi for my family's little firework. He wouldn't dare to snatch my family's people, right?" The moment Lei Kuang spoke, everyone secretly sneered. In dripping Spring City, your family members were all thrown out. What was there to be afraid of? This old thing really wanted face. Yeah, there aren't many reclusive venerables on the continent. May I know which one young Master Tu Xie is referring to? The crippled emperor with 2 golden horns on his head spoke as well. Everyone looked at young noble Tu Xie with fiery gazes. This wasn't a small matter. If they couldn't be sure, they wouldn't have any confidence. After all, if Reverend Li Quan were to act, he would be able to suppress all of them. It's not convenient for me to reveal this person's identity right now. Young Master Tu Xie was in a difficult position. Actually, if this person didn't answer, he would definitely make a move. If Tu Xie revealed it in advance, it would be troublesome if this honorable came looking for trouble with him in the future. Everyone, I can confirm that what my junior brother said is true. Don't worry, I will personally pay a visit to this venerable. At this moment, Battle God Xianu, who was standing beside young Master Tu Xie, spoke up. He was the one who persuaded young Master Tu Xie to invite him over. Therefore, he could only force himself to speak. Venerable Wicked Fury's words made some people believe him. After all, the Evil Wrath War God was the eldest disciple of Supremacy Evil Moon. He represented Supremacy Evil Moon to a large extent. If a reclusive Venerable really made a move, together with Venerable Evil Moon, there would be no suspense in this matter. Everyone clearly thought that young Master Tu Xie and the Evil Fury War God were the masterminds behind this matter, and that Venerable Xie Yu was the mastermind. Let's discuss how to split the fruits and treasures first. Otherwise, I won't work for nothing. Emperor Xiang spoke again. Everyone present nodded. There were so many cultivators involved this time, and there were 2 venerables behind them. There were also many cultivators hidden outside Phoenix Glow Mountain. Although Emperor Xiang had a fiery temper, he wasn't a fool. He wouldn't do something that would benefit others. I don't want anything from Sealed God Valley. I only want Yi Qinghan's corpse. His women will all belong to me. That bastard Yi Qinghan has a deep grudge with me. I want to whip his corpse and play with his women. A cold and eerie voice rang out, causing everyone to be taken aback. There was actually someone who didn't come for the Sealed God Valley? What kind of enmity did this crippled emperor have with Yi Qinghan, daring to take such a huge risk just to kill him? But when they thought about it, they felt that it was normal. After all, this was the best chance to kill Yi Qinghan. We'll take 20% of the God Seal Valley's fruits, and the rest will be split evenly. Of course, not a single one of the experts lurking outside. We won't take advantage of this situation, right? If there are any treasures in the valley, we'll split them evenly. However, no one is allowed to touch the restrictions in the Sealed God Valley. This is for that reclusive venerable. He loves to study restrictions and formations. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to invite him. Young Master Tu Xie said lightly. He and Xianu Zhanshan had already planned this. Originally, he only wanted to kill Yi Qinghan to vent his anger. Now the plan had changed. As long as they could take down Sealed God Valley, he believed that Venerable Evil Moon would definitely stand up for them. At that time, he wouldn't have to worry about Venerable Butterfly Dance's revenge. The discussion was almost done. The people inside were more or less settled. They began to discuss how to attack. The atmosphere in the tent heated up. Everyone could see the fiery dragon city turning into ruins under the colorful attacks. The prefecture master has summoned all war gods above 5th grade to the plaza. The noisy plaza of Soul Eater City was broken by a deafening roar. Tens of thousands of warriors in the plaza looked at the woman who shouted in astonishment. They wanted to see who had the guts to shout in Soul Eater City. Swish! Others might not be able to recognize this voice, but the guards of the Doyens in the city could. Instantly, countless people flew to the plaza from inside the city. This was the voice of Lord Devour's personal maid, Lord Geo. Lord Geo's strength was not high, but she was valued by Lord Devour. She held 2 tokens from Lord Devour. Geo, what happened? A tall figure came through the air. He was covered in brown armor. His face was as black as charcoal, but he was quite handsome. His voice was like muffled thunder, and his aura was like a mountain. He shouted at Lord Geo from afar. It was Lord Devour's sworn brother, the second city Lord of Soul Eater City, Emperor Yu. Little Geo. What happened? Someone bullied you? I'll go kill him. Emperor Yi also quickly flew out, his face full of anger. More than 2,000 people gathered in the plaza. Among them, the second city lord and 2 elders were 7th grade war gods, more than 200 6th grade war gods, and the rest were 5th grade war gods. The Soul Eater City's tyrannical power was fully demonstrated at this moment. Lord Geo did not waste any time. She threw out the Soul Eater order and shouted, "Second City Lord Elders, I'll explain to you later. 2 elders of Soul Eater City, you 2 stay in the city and immediately issue the order of the City Lord. Gather all the war gods above 5th grade in the Soul Eater City. Once you're done, immediately rush to the Phoenix Cloud Mountain Range. The rest of the 5th grade and above experts enter the teleportation array and teleport to the Phoenix Cloud Mountain Range to help the 2 young masters kill people." Phoenix Cloud Mountain Range? 2 young masters? It's young master Xiaohei. Second City Lord Emperor Yu's aura surged when he heard this. A large black axe appeared in his hand. Like a real dragon awakening from a deep sleep, he roared furiously. "Activate the teleportation array. 2 elders of Soul Eater City, pass my order. If any family dares to not go, I'll tear them apart when they return. Go!" Reporting to my lords, the teleportation array of Beacon Smoke City is closed. At this moment, a weak voice sounded, as if afraid of angering the violent Second City Lord. "Where's the teleportation array of Longyang City?" Lord Geo's eyes were like lightning. His elegant temperament was no longer elegant. He suddenly swept his gaze toward another huge teleportation array. "It can be teleported." The warriors guarding the teleportation array quickly checked and reported loudly. "All right, everyone go to Longyang City. Then, immediately teleport to West Wind City, which is closest to the Phoenix Cloud Mountain Range." Doyen Jiao did you bring all the flying tools in the city? A beautiful female Doyen immediately replied, "They're all in the spatial ring." "It's enough." Everything was ready. The huge teleportation array began to teleport people continuously. This teleportation array was extremely huge. Every time it teleported hundreds of people, a 5-colored light shot into the sky, illuminating the sky of Soul Eater City. Longyang City was bustling. The tens of thousands of warriors in the city plaza were scared out of their wits today. Countless experts were constantly teleported from the huge teleportation array. These experts all had terrifying auras, like fierce tigers in the mountains. Their gazes could kill. The guards in the city instantly tensed up, thinking that some prefecture was about to start a war. Dragon City Prefecture's West Wind City was even more unbearable. With so many experts teleported over, the city lord and the family patriarchs in the city were all scared silly. They didn't dare to move, for fear that these experts would slaughter the city in a fit of rage. The ordinary warriors in the city witnessed a grand occasion that they had never seen in their lives. Dozens of Fei Luans soared into the sky, bringing this group of fierce experts towards the north. They covered the sky and covered the earth. Even the dazzling light of the demonic sun in the sky was covered. Chapter 8:27. They are preparing to attack. There are 13 7th-grade war gods? This is troublesome. The evil Wrath war god is here too. Even though he is masked, we have known each other for so many years. Do you think I am a fool? Lee was very experienced. When the tent disappeared, the 13 figures appeared. Even though many of them were masked, Lee had been dealing with them for many years. How could he not recognize them? So what if there are 13 7th-grade war gods? Looks like we were going to have some fun this time. The moment the tent disappeared, a war god robe appeared on Lei Jin's body. He also put on a bamboo hat. The silver spear in his hand shone with divine light and a murderous aura. Beast Monarch, Wind Monarch, cooperate with the Thunder Monarch's attack. Uncle Lei Jin, Rain Empress, it is up to you. As long as you can withstand this round of attack and wait for our reinforcements to arrive, it will be easy. Of course, don't try to be brave. Safety first. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly. A small divine king like him could not intervene in a battle of this level. Even an ordinary god emperor would be courting death if he went out, let alone him. Linger and the warriors on the plaza became excited. A battle of this level was hard to come by in a million years. Yu Qingcheng, Yi Yaorao, and the others were worried. Little Fireworks' lips were pale. He could clearly see that there were many warriors of the Lei family. Whoosh! The thousands of warriors outside the city all released their auras. They instantly soared into the sky and slowly flew toward Fiery Dragon City. Thousands of warriors, 11 7th-grade war gods, and hundreds of 6th-grade war gods. When such a powerful force released their auras, the entire Phoenix Glow Mountain range stopped blowing and the sky darkened. The entire Fiery Dragon City was enveloped by the destructive auras of these thousands of warriors. It seemed like it would be turned into dust in the next second. People outside, listen up. This is the territory of Fiery Dragon City. We have already applied for the construction of the city. You are going against the iron law of the realm of gods. You are going against the misty sovereign. Retreat immediately, or else you will be killed. Lei Jin's aura shook, forcing Yi Qinghan and the girls to take a few steps back. The 5 formation masters in the city controlled the protective barrier, allowing his angry roar to spread out. The loud roar was like thunder, shaking the 9 heavens. It reverberated outside the city for a long time. Lei Jin's words were naturally like a fart. The people outside pretended not to hear it. However, Lei Jin shouted these words in order to make his side stand on the side of justice, to stand on the side of reason. Although the immortal realm respected the strong, they still needed to have a good reason to start a war. In the future, they would be able to speak with a straight back. Yi family army, get ready. Follow me in a battle and defend Flame Dragon City. If the city existed, the people lived. If the city perished, the people would die. Little Knight, you are now in charge of controlling the barrier within the city. Open the barrier. Kill. Following Lei Jin's shout, the barrier instantly opened. After Lei Jinyu, the Wind Arch and the Demonic Arch took the lead and rushed out. Li He and Yu Piao followed closely behind. Behind them were hundreds of demonic beast experts, and at the very back were over 1,000 Yi family soldiers. Everyone released their aura. The hundreds of demonic beasts that were the size of small mountains were even more imposing. At this moment, the aura of Flame Dragon City's side instantly suppressed the martial artists who were attacking the city. The martial artists who were attacking the city, seeing that the people in the city actually rushed out, became even more excited. If they could cripple these people, then Flame Dragon City would be easy to take down. Although they were puzzled as to why they dared to be so presumptuous and daring, they did not hold back. However, they did not hold back. Without saying a word, they immediately accelerated and charged toward the other side. In a battle between experts, the external release of divine power and energy attacks were already ineffective. Only a real fight could kill the other party. Set up the formation. The Thunder Arch sneered and did not make any moves. When the opposing martial artists were within a few hundred meters of him, he suddenly shouted. A few 7th-grade war gods surrounded the Thunder Arch. The rest of the people and demonic beasts instantly formed a wall. Meanwhile, the Thunder Thearch's body instantly released a dazzling white light. The demonic horns on his head flickered with electricity, and a huge white barrier suddenly formed. It was the thunder god's protection. Lei Jun swept his spear, and a huge bolt of lightning shot forward like a furious dragon. In an instant, it turned into tens of thousands of electric snakes and surged toward the martial artists in front of him. He also released the thunder god's fury. At the same time, he roared angrily, dripping River's soul attack. Everyone, attack indiscriminately in front of you. Swish! Swish! Chi! Countless air-piercing sounds rang out. Dripping River didn't need the Thunder Thearch's instructions. The moment the Thunder God's protection lit up, he instantly released his soul skill. Dripping River directly used the most powerful soul poison, Jade Knife. The sky was filled with transparent jade knives that danced in the air, and countless soul poisons poured forward in torrents. Dripping River's soul skill was like many formless venomous snakes that flew out from his hands. The sky was filled with snake shadows. Although it could not be seen with the naked eye, it was a ghastly sight with a sweep of divine sense. Following closely behind Dripping River, the sky was filled with energy attacks of all shapes and colors. The scene was extremely magnificent, and the energy contained within them could tear the blue dome of heaven apart. Swish! The expressions of all the powerhouses on the attacking side changed instantly. Countless god territories were opened at the first instance. These were the god territories released by the rank 7 supreme powerhouses. It was just that they released them in a hurry. They only had enough time to envelop themselves and a few people nearby. They did not expect Lei Jun's side to actually use thunder and lightning attacks, soul attacks, and energy attacks. These thunder and lightning attacks and soul attacks were terrifying. They did not dare to spread their god territories too far. Otherwise, they might also die if they were hit by the thunder and soul attacks. Those powerhouses who were not enveloped by the god territories looked like dead ashes. It was true that they had their own god territories, but it was very difficult for their god territories to defend against those terrifying thunder and soul attacks. Once they were hit by the thunder and soul attacks, their bodies and souls would instantly have a small problem. Usually, such a small problem would not be a big deal. However, there were countless energy attacks surging over from afar. Bang, bang, bang. Countless energy waves crashed heavily. Hundreds of rank 5 and rank 6 powerhouses who were not enveloped by the shield were instantly turned into pieces of minced meat. Divine crystals sparkled in the sky, and spatial rings danced in the air. Blood sprayed across the entire sky. Broken pieces of flesh and limbs flew everywhere. It was like hell on earth. The surviving powerhouses looked at the sky, full of minced meat. Their faces turned pale, especially the 13 war gods. They did not expect Lei Jun's side to attack in such a way. If the energy attacks were to attack the powerhouses under normal circumstances, as long as the god territories were opened, nothing would happen. However, under the terrifying thunder and soul attacks, their bodies were numb, and their souls trembled. How could they open the god territories' defense? If they could not open the god territories' defense, facing thousands of such fierce energy attacks, the outcome was obvious. No, there are people from the Lei family on the other side. The evil wrath war god's expression turned cold as he suddenly roared. Swish! However, his words were too late. At this moment, a huge white shield lit up behind the main force. Within the shield, countless energy attacks and thunder and lightning attacks poured out in torrents. The Lei family of Longyang City actually attacked them. Moreover, while everyone was still in shock, they attacked in an instant at the same time. Lei Kuang's maniacal laughter rang out. Ha! You bastards actually want to kill my great-grandson and my little princess? I, Lei Kuang, will let all of you stay here today. Lei Jun, little firework, your ancestor is here to take you home. Disciples of the Lei family, kill them for me. Chapter 828. The Lei family did not have many descendants of the Thunder God. Other than Lei Jun and Little Fireworks, there was only Lei Kuang. However, the descendants of the Lei family were all descendants of the Thunder God and possessed the power of thunder and lightning. One Lei family descendant might not have much power, But the Lei family had hundreds of experts, and Lei Kuang, who had the bloodline of the Thunder God, even stronger than Lei Jin. Lei Kuang's thunderbolt was obviously thicker than Lei Jin's. Sparks sparkled, and the energy it contained made the hearts of countless seventh-grade war gods tremble. The moment the Thunder and Lightning family descendant released his thunderbolt, the sky was filled with sparks. The temperature of the air instantly rose, and the souls of the 5th and 6th grade experts who were closest to him almost left their bodies. Yi family army, listen up. Everyone attacked the front with indiscriminate energy. The Rain Empress and Li He obviously would not let go of such a good opportunity. Lei Jun immediately shouted, and the spear in his hand shot out like a silver dragon. This energy attack contained thunder and lightning. Even though he was weak, he still decided to kill them first. He could not let go of such a good opportunity. Whoosh! This time, no one dared to resist. The 7th grade war gods were the first to retreat, fleeing in all directions. Once the 7th grade war gods fled, who dared to stay? Originally, when Lei Jun and his group attacked, they already had the intention to flee. Now, when they saw the Lei family descendant, they immediately fled. Some reacted quickly, while others did not. The 7th grade war gods were fast, and the gods' domain had strong defenses, so they were fine. Just now, there were some who had the intention to escape. It was fine if they ran fast, but the remaining few hundred low-level martial artists suffered a calamity once again. Thunder and lightning enveloped them like a giant net. The Rain Empress and Li He's soul attacks came one after another, and then they were greeted by a sky full of energy attacks, especially Lei Jin's angry dragon, which instantly enveloped 3 6th grade war gods. Bang, bang, bang! Red rain fell from the sky again. Divine crystals worth hundreds of millions of high-grade emperor gods floated in the air. Spatial rings bobbed up and down, and severed limbs flew in all directions. The collision of energy created shockwaves that shook the space. The scene was spectacular. Nice! Wow! Everyone in the city could clearly see the situation of the battle outside the city. Yi Qinghan clenched his fists tightly and waved them in the air. He shouted loudly, and his face was full of joy. Yu Qingcheng, Yinling, Li Shui, and the others also had a look of joy on their faces, but the martial artists in the city were incomparably shocked. No one had expected that they would achieve such great results in the first round of confrontation. 2 attacks had actually killed nearly 1,000 experts. It should be known that these were not ordinary warriors. Those who could fight in the outside world were at least 5th grade war gods. That was a 5th grade war god. Even someone who had just stepped into the god emperor realm would not be able to reach this level of strength. Normally, a 5th grade war god in a small city would be arrogant, but here a random round of attacks. Even Lei Jun and the others outside the city did not expect to have such a great effect. The methods of soul cultivators were indeed strange. It was indeed true that they had the greatest advantage in a group battle. The Yi family army behind Lei Jun, on the other hand, was a little confused as they looked at the fleeing Supreme cultivators. It was as if they were not fighting Supreme cultivators, but a bunch of small fries. Everyone, each team, fights separately. Chase after the 5th and 6th grade war gods. Demon Emperor, let your subordinates stall the 7th grade war gods. Lei Jun did not hesitate for long. As the previous hall master of the Lei family's Hall of Battle, his battle wisdom was needless to say. Of course, he had to maximize the results of the battle. Lei Jun was protected by the Wind Emperor, the Rain Empress, Li He, Piao Piao, and the Demon Emperor chased after the experts. His subordinates of more than 1,000 martial artists were also divided into small teams. Every 3 6th grade war gods would lead a group of 5th grade war gods. They chased after the fleeing 5th and 6th grade war gods. Hundreds of powerful demonic beasts, under the command of the Demon Emperor, divided into several groups and charged toward the 7th grade war gods. These demonic beasts, whose battle prowess was even stronger than 5th and 6th grade war gods, had evolved over hundreds of thousands of years. Although the Demon Emperor was heartbroken, he had no other choice. At this moment, His army of demonic beasts was indeed the best weapon to stall the 7th grade war gods. Disciples of the Lei family, kill. Pay attention. Do not harm the people of Flame Dragon City, or I will tear you all apart. Lei Kuang also withdrew his thunder god's protection and ordered a 7th grade war god to protect him. The rest of the people were sent out to chase. The disciples of the Lei family helped Lei Jun, but Lei Jun did not say a word of thanks. He did not even look at them. Many of the disciples of the Lei family were slightly angry, but they did not refute the patriarch's orders. Lei Yun, however, smiled. He thought to himself that the old ancestor was not too muddle-headed. Although the treasures of the Seal God Valley were precious, how could they compare to Lei Jun and Lei Huahua? These were two people with the bloodline of the Thunder God. Lei Jun had reached the peak of 7th grade at such a young age. He could win back the hearts of the father and daughter and allow them to return to the family. This was more important than any treasure for a moment. The sky was filled with the figures of martial artists. However, two sides were in an organized pursuit, while the other side was blindly defending and escaping. Originally, there were more people on both sides, and the attacking side had more people. However, the previous round of attacks killed nearly 1,000 people. Then, the Lei family rebelled, and the numbers were instantly reversed. On top of that, their morale was low, and they were not in the mood to continue fighting. The result was obvious. The army was defeated like a landslide. The crippled emperor was very angry. 1/3 of the Golden Horn Holy Tribe members he brought were killed in the previous 2 rounds of attacks. Not only him, but all the 7th grade war gods present were also angry. They had long cursed young Master Tu Xie and the evil Wrath war god in their hearts. Didn't they say that Yi Qinghan only had 2 7th grade war gods? How come there were 6 of them now? Moreover, there were 2 soul cultivators. The evil Wrath war god was also angry. He kept cursing in his heart. These masters had been here for so long, but why didn't they gather any information? Although the city was protected, they were preparing to attack the city, so they should have done some pre-battle preparations. They had placed the biggest obstacle to conquering the fiery dragon city on Honorable Li Quan and Lord Devour. They thought that as long as they could deal with the two, with so many experts, it would be easy to conquer the fiery dragon city. They didn't expect that the fiery dragon city would be so strong. They didn't expect that Yi Qinghan had already entered the city with Li He and Yu Piao. They also didn't expect Lei Jun to come up with such a strategy. Didn't they fight directly before? Now that they were playing like this, it was against the rules. Evil Wrath. Why don't you ask those hidden experts to attack? I'm going to take my people away. The crippled emperor was besieged by dozens of powerful demonic beasts. Moreover, these demonic beasts had thick skin and flesh, and their defense was frighteningly strong. It took more than 10 seconds to kill one of them, but in those 10 seconds, 2 or 3 of his clansmen had died. If this went on, he would become a general without an army. How could he continue to fight? He hurriedly transmitted his voice to Evil Wrath. Clad in golden armor, Emperor Xiang, who looked like an ancient war god, was being chased by the Rain Empress and the others. He was fuming with anger. Emperor Xiang was at the peak of rank 7. But the Rain Empress, Li He's soul skill, and Yu Piao's speed made him feel helpless. He was waiting to be beaten. This battle was frustrating. He hurriedly transmitted his voice to a cave. Young Master Tu Xie, why don't you ask the hidden venerable to attack? If this goes on, I'll beat your mother. Evil Wrath War God and young Master Tu Xie, who were hiding in the cave, were also very anxious. If they were treated like this, how could they continue to fight? If they returned with their tails between their legs, not only would they not get any benefits, but their reputation would also be ruined. Most importantly, Honorable Li Quan and Honorable Butterfly would definitely cause trouble for them in the future. Without any benefits, Honorable Evil Moon would definitely not go against Honorable Butterfly openly. Evil Wrath War God immediately transmitted his voice to the chiefs of the big clans hiding in the forest west of the city. As for the hidden venerable, transmitting his voice was useless. If he wanted to attack, he would attack. If he did not attack, begging on his knees would be useless. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.